It's the World Series of Sim Racing here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
No contact.
And some contact. Holds on for now. It's Vincent Soracali's going to be able to hold on. 3 wide, 2 wide. Ryan Bird trying to be the hero. He'll door smack once again in the center of the corner. Figure out how to get out of the way. Vinny breaks him. He breaks him across the line. The 15 wins. One last chance. One last opportunity. He's digging. He's climbing. He's right on the bumper. Blocking going to be made. Will there be contact? Here comes Thompson. Check on the outside. We're going to be blocked. Defended. Brian Johnson hoping and will win. Here comes Vincent Soar to the inside. But it's not enough. Brian Johnson wins. And it's going to be the 13th trying his best. He'll hold on. Or will he cross the line? It's Cedric Hunter by a nose. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday night. Tonight, it is more playoff action as it is the cutoff race of the round of 11 to figure out the 6 drivers that will race in the championship round. 2 races after tonight, North Wilkesboro and Las Vegas, where the drivers will have their points reset, and it will be all who can have the most points after those 2 races. But tonight, it is still wide open on who's going to be in or out. There's just one driver that is already locked in. That's Cedric Hunter, who won the fuel mileage race last week at Charlotte. But tonight, we have a special event, a special night of racing. This is going to be your Tunnels to Towers Foundation 180 on September 11th. We always remember this day as it is a day of absolute terror that happened back in September 11th in 2001. But we always say thank you to those that gave their lives to help so many, even with the massive loss that we had on that day. We'll break down more on Tunnels to Towers later on. But tonight, it is the final race of the round of 11, as drivers are all hunting for a chance to race for championship in Season 9. Once again, thank you for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth, as always, is Justin Malarkey. And Justin, as you can see on screen, the drivers are having a little bit of fun because they know this race is going to be tough. Richmond with the next gens, it's never been a great combo, but we get ready for some amazing action here tonight to see who's in or out in the playoffs.
The all last minute having fun out there in practice, hitting the water barrels, getting all crazy. But as you said, Richmond, this track, next gen, they'll be shifting. It will be fun, but the tires will be wearing out fast, Sam. So tire strategy will be interesting. See if anyone decides to use a set early if we get a caution in between that stage. It's always that fun part for us to talk about. But right now, we got 1 second left in practice, so we're going to be switching over to qualifying, where it's going to be extra important. Get that good qualifying run, be out front, lead the laps, get the most laps led, get the points, get the stage points, get the victory, and get your way on to the next round.
As drivers know, pole position can be very important for yourself as we enter into qualifying. We've ran Richmond 3 times in the past, and it was ran back in Season 2, Season 4, and Season 7. The driver that gets the pole has won 2 out of the last 3 attempts, as well as the driver on the first time they ever ran, Larry Yingling, led the most laps, grabbed the pole, and won. We'll see if tonight could be a similar night of seeing someone get up front and stay up front. As we talked about it last week, we saw drivers cheesing. Here's Aaron Smith II bobbing and weaving, finding any little bit of ways to find grip and speed, those little bit of hard-braking, drifting, burnout moments, trying to get the heat up in these tires, in the brakes. So crucial, Justin, for these drivers, as Aaron is trying every little bit to ink out some speed, because that pole position and track position is so important here.
Oh, track position, you hit it. It's going to be important. It's this tires wear out here. It's hard to pass. It's hard to make up ground. If you go early, you really can push the limits and you can make up ground, but you pay that price, Sam. So you just want to be able to qualify up front and not have to worry about driving there. But you see these drivers are getting laps in right now. We got that first one, Danny Cochran, 22.511, setting the standard. Justin Forms, nice lap there in second place right now, but he's going to have to pick up the pace. He's about 4/10 off Danny Cochran.
And Justin Forbes was talking to John Forbes about Justin practicing for this race. Felt like, hey, Justin's got some pretty decent speed, so this could be a huge pickup for the driver we've been watching all throughout this season learn and get quicker as the season has gone on. Ken Campbell, who's had a very much up and down roller coaster of a season, or just cannot find himself with consistency. The 15 hoping to find a good run to get up front, but still it's Danny Cochran and the 2 machine up front. But you look at the playoff drivers, currently there's one that's still out on track. That's Vincent Sora, who's going to be one of our first playoff contenders, who's going to have a time in, hoping for that pole position. And he jumps right up there as I talk about him. Vincent Sora, one of the strong Richmond drivers. He finds himself with a 22.151, hoping for that to be one of his fastest times of the evening. As second fastest is Ken Campbell, his second lap, hoping to get a little bit faster, but it was not enough. He'll fall shy as Brian P. Johnson now moves up to second place. As we move over to Zach Hall as he's getting ready for his first couple of laps to be counted.
Getting into that first lap there. I think, what do you think, Sam? The goal right now, get the tires heated up, try and get that fast lap, but it's hard. Hard to heat the tires up here. We talked about it last week with some of the movements you could do out there with the steering wheel, shaking it around, heat it up. But this track being so short, you just don't have time to really get out there and get that grip in the wheel.
No, you really don't, and that's kind of why we saw Aaron Smith II really trying his best, and now we also see Douglas Newbigin trying multiple ways to just get that little bit of extra grip if possible. And it looks like for Douglas, he's going to give up completely on this first lap, trying to mount up as much grip and speed. He's already wiggling even more. So Lucky Ducks, they're trying every playbook possible to get track position and get up front and control this race. It's going to be a big key factor for that team. They've got 2 drivers still fighting to make sure they're in the final 6. Drew Jua as well as Aaron Smith II, both drivers that are outside of the cut line entering tonight. So Lucky Ducks would hope to have their contenders and speed up front to, like I said, control this race if possible. As qualifying still has 1 minute and 30 seconds left. As up front, still Vincent Sora, Zach Hall, Chris Stitz, your top 3. As Christopher Norris, one of the faster drivers from practice, the 38 in the Grimace machine, hoping to find some good speed. As Ryan Kelly, his first lap, gonna be just 1/100th off the pace of Vincent Sora. Kelly hoping for a big pickup on his second lap. As we're seeing Vincent Sora still hold the top spot, but Christopher Norris off the exit of the corner. You can see our predicted lap, and compared to the fastest lap, it is not fast enough for the pole for Christopher Norris. He'll be back in 15th position, but Ryan Kelly, John Forbes, they had some quick speed, but the second lap wasn't fast enough. It was the first lap that actually put them as close as they were to Vincent Sora.
And that might be that product of maybe getting up to speed, ideally as fast as you can, getting through the gearbox. Turns 3 and 4, maybe running a little bit of higher line and able to get that grip on the fresh tire. As you see right now, the 06 car, he's actually going to pack it in. Got 1 lap in there. Looks like the second lap just kind of chilling, but a 22.151 is what the fastest lap was. I didn't see a lap there come in, Sam. Looks like he's in 12th.
For Tom Bourne, that was actually a second lap that he completed, and that was a 22.285, 12th on the board for himself. As qualifying has come to a conclusion, got 10 seconds left. Again, thank you so much to everyone that's joining with us here this evening on Wednesday night. We're going to be coverage of the WSSR Cup Series playoff race of the last one of the round of 11 to see who will be the final 6 to try to hoist the championship for season 9, as we get prepared to throw it over to the warm-up, where drivers will have 5 minutes to put down their fastest, get a little bit more practice time for themselves, as they've just gotten done with qualifying. And also, as we enter in the warm-ups, kind of gives us a time to do a breakdown, Again, 11 drivers enter this evening. As we take a look at the point standings, get to see where the cutoff line is at. It's at the 6th place position mark, but there's a little bit of change there because it's actually Brian P. Johnson, the cutoff driver, is Cedric Hunter. Move him up to the top of the board. Winner of last week, he's locked in. Everyone else is trying to stay inside of our top 6. Those drivers being Gavin Rogers, who's up by 15 points. Zach Hall has a positive 6 entering tonight. Ryan Kelly is positive 4. Vincent Sora is positive 4. Brian P. Johnson up 1. Then we've got our cutoff line where we find Aaron Smith II down by 1 point entering tonight. John Forbes Jr. down 1 point entering tonight. Drew Jua down 3. Larry Yingling down 10. And the long shot all the way down in 11th place. You got Joshua Kanata down by 19 points. He's got a lot of work to get up there. But Justin, still everyone is mathematically in and can be bounced out.
And all you got to do is guarantee yourself in is get that victory. Like you said, Cedric Hunter getting that amazing win last week, getting the job done. And right now, Cedric Hunter, he can go out there tonight and just test his strategy, test his will against these drivers, knowing that he does not have to worry. He's good to go for next week.
He certainly is good to go. As we will move over to take a look at our schedule so far for this season, we've had an incredible season of the start dominated by the likes of Vincent Sora, Gavin Rogers. I mean, Gavin's been Mr. Pole Sitter for most of the season. And then once we hit the halfway marker of this season, we saw a lot of diversity in multiple different drivers getting either their first win, some getting their second win. And Cedric Hunter last week grabbing his second win, also winning at Atlanta at the start of the season. And a lot of these drivers know this is crunch time. You've got tonight to lock yourself in the championship round, but we go from a short track to a short track, Justin, next week. North Wilkesboro before the championship finale, going to be at Las Vegas in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the back-to-back short tracks, that's what's going to make this really challenging. But you think of the driver, the 13, to Cedric Hunter. He can right now kind of test for next week at North Wilkesboro. Maybe just see how he's able to have the car perform on the tires and trying to get some feedback. I know they're different tracks, different tire wear, but still, you kind of could just work and focus on making everything tonight be about next week.
As we will move on over to our pick'ems, we got 2 minutes left. This is our usual time to pick drivers who we think may win the race, or just drivers to watch out for. As we take a look at them, I went with kind of the obvious pick, I would say. I went with Vincent Sora. He's been quick in almost every car that we look at that heads to Richmond. He looked to be one of those favorites, and we made these picks in the middle of practice, so we didn't know how qualifying was going to go for, but Vincent Sora seemed like a strong contender to be the driver up front, and he proved it. Clean up front, pole position. I gotta say, Justin, Vincent Sora looks strong, but who are you going to be going for here this evening?
Well, I have to agree, I like your pick, but I was going to go with Tom Bourne, 06. I'm picking him because I see glimpses each week. I just feel like he's got a ton of great speed there on the short runs, and that can come into play tonight at Richmond.
Tom Bourne going to have one Sky Motorsports teammate with them of Shane Tarian. We'll see if the 06 can work his way through the field, as he'll be starting in the middle. And then we also have our third member up in the booth with us, who's running production in the background of Robert Moyer Jr., and he's going with the hot hand, Zach Hall in the 32. Zach has had some very good speed the last couple of weeks. He's got some work to get up front and go for, but we've heard from Zach. He has been practicing a lot for this race, and it proved as he qualifies third here this evening. Those are going to be our pick'ems for tonight. Justin, this is going to be an interesting race. I've heard from drivers who are terrified of tonight. They feel like this track is so unpredictable with this next-gen car. There's worries. This race could be a long one with a lot of cautions. What is your mindset, though, coming in as an observer for tonight's race?
Well, thinking back to some previous races we've been covering, sometimes we do get a lot of cautions, but it seems like this season's been more of a little bit of less cautions. It just doesn't seem like we've had the amount, but who knows? The grip, you see right there, a car in the back straightaway, spinning out there under practice. The grip level could be what the challenge is. I raced here about a month ago at Richmond, and we were able to go maybe about 1 or 2 cautions, I recall, but it was also daytime. Maybe it wasn't as hot. So we're going to see. This track will be changing. We'll be going through temperature changes. We'll be talking about that tonight, Sam. Definitely temperature out there, and we'll see how this race goes. But if the cautions come out, you got to make sure you're not on pit road, because if you go 2 laps down, it's going to be difficult to get that lap back.
It could be a race ender. It could be a season ender for some of these drivers, and you're hoping to keep all mistakes behind you after last week, the weeks prior. You enter tonight with a clean slate and hope that this is going to be your perfect race. For some, to get into the playoff, get into the championship round of the playoffs. For others, it's just to find the right footing before the season's over. But for us, we're excited to give you the coverage once again here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Tonight's race is Richmond for 180 laps. It's going to be a long one. Stage break at the end of lap 40. No fast repairs, 4 extra sets of tires in pit road. And fuel, well, they might not have to worry about it here tonight, as if we have too many cautions, they might not have to pit. But here's your starting grid. Top of the board, it's Vincent Sora in the 51. Driver that's just around that cutoff line. He needs a good run. Starting up front in a good spot. You've also got Ryan Kelly in second place for the 3. Zach Hall will be starting in third, with John Forbes Jr., one of those drivers outside looking in, entering tonight, will be in fourth. The driver with the most points entering this evening and the most probably comfortable seat besides going to be Cedric Hunter. You've got Gavin Rogers in fifth. Chris Stitz starting in sixth. Seventh is Shane Tarian, who's going to be trying to play a little bit of spoiler here this evening with a good run. Brian McCann in 8th place for the 8. Then we fall down to 9th, where we find Brian P. Johnson, who's the cutoff driver, just 1 point advantage over that cutoff line. Finishing out our top 10, the one driver who's locked in to your championship round, we got the 13 as Cedric Hunter.
And then going off right behind him in the 11th, Larry Yingling, Tom Bourne in 12th, Ken Campbell in 13th, and Nick Crawford in 14th position. Tom Senchek going to be in 15th, and Christopher Norris in 16th. GT Irizarry in 17th position, and then Joshua Kanata, our driver, in 11th place in points. He's going to be rolling off in 18th position tonight. 19th going to be Brian Noel, and Aaron Smith's the second, and 20th is going to be coming deep from there for his playoff run.
Yeah, and kind of shocking. All 3 of the drivers that are part of Lucky Ducks going to be right around one another. So all of that, try to build up speed and momentum and heat in their tires, backfires, as down in 21st position, we found a 77 of Drew Jua. So Aaron Smith second, Drew Jua, they've got to work through most of the field to get forward and get massive points to make the playoffs. We'll see how they can continue on with that. 22nd position is the 2 of Danny Cochran. 23rd is the 24th of Ollie Fonseca, with Ben Keeney in 24th, Justin Forbes, in 25th, and Douglas Newbiggie, the last Lucky Ducks driver, all the way down in 26th position. I gotta say, Justin, looking at the way that we were seeing the warm-ups for Lucky Ducks, that qualifying attempt is shocking. They've got a lot of work to get forward, and they've got to make sure that they are at least close to being inside of the stage points by the end of lap 40, because stage points, I think, might be the key factor of who's in or out of this next round.
Stage points will be very important, and it being on lap 40, and if this race stays green, lap 40 could be here in about 10 minutes, Sam, so you don't have a ton of time.
You really don't. And tonight, again, a special evening, as the race is sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. On September 11th, 2001, nearly 3,000 lives were tragically lost in a terrorist attack to the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. And the Tunnels to Towers Foundation was created to honor firefighter Stephen Stiller, who heroically gave his life that day. The foundation supports first responders, injured veterans, and families of fallen heroes by providing mortgage-free housing and other forms of assistance. To donate to Tunnels to Towers Foundation and help continue their mission of honoring and supporting the nation's heroes, visit their website at T2T.org or text T2T to 91999. Thank you so much for being an incredible sponsor for an incredible day and race, as the green flag is out for the drivers here tonight. It is your Tunnel to Towers Foundation 180 and the cutoff race. So the round of 11 as they roar down into turn number 1. It's Vincent Sora, Ryan Kelly side by side, but Sora takes the lead as they pulls away.
You can see the 3 car twitching right there, that blue and white car twitching coming out of turns 1 and 2, just trying to get that grip. Right now he's still running up high, trying to chase down Vincent Sora, not going to lead that first lap. That's the important lap for Vincent Sora, gets that bonus point. Makes him feel a little bit extra comfortable as the battle between second, Zach Hall, and Ryan Kelly down this back straightaway. You see the car still twitching coming out of the corner just ever so slightly.
And we're going to see that all night long. The drivers trying to get a handful of this machine. I heard that it's tough getting into the corner. It can sometimes snap loose. The rear brakes are a lot more sticky, it seems like, that it just wants to spin out the rear end when you get on the brakes on entry. And then off the exit, I think everyone knows at this point, Richmond is notoriously known for being snapping loose with the transition from the banking to a flat course. This track is a handful, but Vincent Sora leads the way and gets himself that one bonus point for leading a lap. Can be so crucial. Again, those bonus points, and once you playoff bonus points are going to be taken away entering next round, but they're so crucial to make it to the next round. As the battle for third, it's Zach Hall, John Forbes Jr. side by side with one another, as Zach Hall able to conquer and save that third place position.
You see right here, we are on board with Zach Hall. We were looking out the front. It was nice and clear in front, but behind, look at this battle. Gavin Rogers driving hard into the inside. Gonna get into
Rogers, Ford, they get into one another. Outside also gonna be seeing Shane Terry involved, and just a little bit too aggressive. And John Forbes, who needs points, spun around and heads to the back.
Wow, you saw it live. You heard the emotion change in our voices. That is not what he needed to see. I mean, I don't see a ton of damage. We're going to see right here on the back, not seeing the major damage, but wow, he just drove it in there. The car was not, the tires were not ready. They weren't warmed up yet, I don't think, and he just didn't have the grip.
And just try to get a little bit too much early in this race. Gavin Rogers, good on points. He can get aggressive. John Forbes, on the other hand, he cannot have this type of a run. As Shane Terry, an innocent victim, caught up on the outside, but the contact looked to be pretty minimal on damage-wise, but it's that track, Keith, the factor of track position, completely lost on the 11, who once was battling for third, now all the way back to 25th position.
Yeah, these cars definitely can take a beating. We know that. We talk about it quite often. I didn't see any damage there on the tires, the wheels. That all looked good. The suspension, it was just the back, but not even seeing it really creased. I think we'll be able to get in there and get it fixed. I actually wonder more about the number 9 machine. Kind of got a little bit of squeeze there on the left front and right front into the wall, so we'll have to take note on that. But lap 7, not seeing any drivers really decide to go in and take any tires, which I agree with Sam. I think you got to save those sets for later in this race.
You certainly do. In the pit row, John Forbes Jr., Shane Terry, both going to get repairs done for themselves and then get back out there on track. As, again, stage break at the end of lap 40. We get a quick couple of cautions here, Justin, and the stage is over. And I think a lot of these drivers now, with this early caution, are going to realize if you're outside the top 10 and you're a playoff contender, you have to go now. And those two drivers that are outside looking in at this moment, Aaron Smith second, Drew Jua, they were able to advance in positions by 5 spots just in those early couple of laps, up to 15th and 16th for the Lucky Duck drivers. They need a couple of more positions, though, to get inside of our top 10 and get those bonus points that are so needed to make sure they're at least in a fighting chance points position to try to outpoint their other competitors.
Those drivers will feel very relieved if they're able to get into the top 10. One, they got a little bit of stage points, not a lot, but if they could get a couple, even 1 or 2, they'll feel good. But I think the other thing, Sam, is they're going to feel really good knowing that they have a fast car if they're able to drive into the top 10 before lap 40. So I think more importantly, they're looking to know that they have that reassurance of the right brake package and the right handle on this track, especially as it starts to cool off. As you see, that sun is now getting behind the grandstands.
Sun's going, starting to fade down. Update on Shane Terrian, did go a lap down, spent all his time getting repairs done. I think recognizing, okay, we have at least a stage yellow ahead of us, so if I'm at least just only driver 1 lap down, I'll get that lap back. For John Forbes, though, he will be a driver that pitted, just got service done on repairs, and we'll see how well he could try to tackle and move forward on this restart after getting a little bit of that damage repair done. But up front, it's going to be Vincent Sora, Ryan Kelly, your front 2, Zach Hall, Brian P. Johnson, going to be in the second row. Gavin Rogers, who went that aggressive mode, he'll be the 3rd driver on the inside row. We'll see if the 75 continues with his aggression, or maybe do they calm down as the green flag is back in the air for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation 180 here tonight down into turn number 1. Vincent Sora is gone. Rest of the field going to be stacked 2 by 2 all the way through from 3rd on back.
Ryan Kelly's able to clear the third place machine this time on that restart, so he's going to have a chance to see if he can do anything with the 51 this restart. Not looking like he's going to be able to, but Brian P. Johnson's going to decide if he can get around Zach Hall, move Brian P. Johnson up into third, gets him up there closer to this battle, closer to getting those points potentially if he's able to lead a lap here. But more importantly, the stage points for later on when it comes at lap 40, 39 laps away, 31, excuse me.
And drivers that, again, need to get inside of the top 10, that yellow 70 machine, the blue and red 77 of Drew Jua, both need stage points to make sure that they are not out of reach heading after this stage break at the end of lap 40, and currently it is looking good for Vincent Sora to be up front and dominate this race. Everyone else, though, stuck in a little bit of contact further on back. That's going to be Ollie Fonseca. It looked like he got put in the outside wall. No, it was Danny Cochran, excuse me, in the Larry R Productions machine. One driver snaps loose, though. Up front, it's the 8 of Brian McCann, who gets out of trouble but keeps it pointing straight. So a couple of incidences striking in just one lap, but they keep it straight. We continue to stay green. And that's the big thing for the drivers up front. They want it to stay green currently.
Yes, you see the first incident was John Forbes. You see him at the back of that photo of this video right here, just trying to make up some ground. But Brian McCann can get loose on the front straightaway, costing tons of valuable time. Right here, we're watching Aaron Smith trying to make up, see if he can get inside that top 10, but he's there, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. He's still got to get around about 4 or 5 more cars.
There is also another driver, a note that I have actually kind of washed over for a quick moment, that being the kind of, you could say, cotton candy, blue and pink machine on the 16 of Joshua Kanata. He finds himself back in 18th position. He also is going to tag along with the Lucky Duck drivers and move forward as Joshua Kanata, if he does not get stage bonus points, and some of those cutoff drivers do get massive stage points, this 16 could be turning into, I could probably point my way in to a must-win scenario in just that of 15 laps from now. So Joshua Kanata's mindset could be changing dramatically here as this race progresses forward, as they continue to stay side by side from 8th on back. Cedric Hunter is that driver trying to mount his way forward as he has Chris Stitz to his outside, and Ken Campbell, the Storm Motorsports driver, side by side at the moment of the 17 and the 15.
Hello Kitty car right there is just out there enjoying this race right now, has no stress. We remind all our viewers, he's got the win last week. He's advancing to next week's race no matter what, does not have to worry. He will be fighting for that championship still, and that's the importance of getting that win that we talk about.
Yeah, that win last week, so crucial. Now it's 5 other spots wide open for grabbing opportunities, and we'll see how this field continues to react as we're almost halfway through the stage. And Vincent Sora has pulled up to over a 2nd gap lead over Ryan Kelly. And, you know, looking at this field right now, Justin, Richmond, most times when we've seen it throughout the iRacing, you call it career, this track has been so one-dimensional. It's get down to that yellow line through the corner, but we're seeing that outside groove. They're trying to fight even this late into a run.
Yeah, it seems like in this next-gen car, you could always somehow make a second groove at least work, but especially here at Richmond, like you said, Sam, this has always just been a track where they're just down on that yellow line, and right now on the front straightaway, you're not going to be on that yellow line, but when they get to this corner right there, they just want to be down there. It seems like that's where this car works. It is interesting, there was times where sometimes 2nd, 3rd, 4th lanes would work at Richmond, very weird. Maybe back when they had the sealer on the ground, but not in this iRacing scan of this track. This is not happening. You're definitely going to want to be on the bottom. That's where the speed is, and these drivers are going to be shifting using that gear, trying to launch out of that corner.
Yeah, shifting was something that some drivers were even questioning during practice of which tactic was going to be the best to utilize, as Christopher Norris sees an opportunity to dive down to get by Ken Campbell for 11th place. But that was the big talking point of some drivers felt like staying in 5th gear was the way to go. Others felt like shifting down to 4th for majority of the racetrack was the way to drive this course, as we were right on board with Christopher Norris. He is shifting 4th gear for most of this track. It's only when you hit the front stretch that we're going to see the 38 shift into 5th gear, and it's going to be coming up to the start-finish line when they decide to finally shift up. And that discussion of shifting or not has been a fun one to kind of see for the last couple of months of how Richmond has changed, of being in 5th gear all the time this next gen to then shifting, and it's kind of the iRacing setup on which kind of tactic is the better one to take?
You can see right here as we are on board, the shifting going from 4th gear to 5th gear on the telemetry. But the hardest part is just trying to plant that 4th gear and come out of the corner and be able to turn underneath. Just asking more out of those front tires just to be able to turn right here. You're going to see he gets underneath the 15 to Ken Campbell, but he just can't get back to the throttle and stay there. And the 15's just got that preferred line where he's able to enter a little bit better. And right here now, Norris is going to try and pull to the outside a little bit, maybe get a run coming underneath. But Sam, you're just asking so much out of the tires. They just slide coming out of turn 4. As you see the 70, he's got that little wiggle. He's kind of got up there and slapped that wall coming out of the corner himself.
Yeah, and for Christopher Norris, Ken Campbell, they got to be careful because we're going to see Aaron Smith second, Drew Jua, they're both going to be swapping back and forth, and they are not going to be very patient here. 15 laps to go. Speaking of patience, what a dive bomb move by John Forbes as he dives it down, muscles up GT Rosari. Douglas Newbegin now going to try to get underneath the 11, and Forbes, he's also getting a little bit dramatic because he recognizes stage points are so crucial for the 11's chances to make the next round of the championship hunt, and it is costing him badly on the fact that he has to drive so hard and aggressive on this set of tires that they are overheating, and he is overheating as well, it looks like, on some of the moves he's taking.
And I would most think that those tires are heated up from that spin in the beginning on lap 4 there. They're probably still a little warm, and like you said, driving so hard, and he made that move, drove GT Rosari up the track, and now GT Rosari, he's going to be behind him soon if the 11 doesn't get going, because the 7 got around him, kind of drove the 11 back up the track. And this is where short track tempers can easily start and happen. Right now, 16, he's on the outside of the 7, that blue car, Douglas Newbegin. 16, he's our last driver that has a chance to advance. He's got to win, though, like you said. If he's not getting these stage points, it's going to change from pointing your way in to guarantee to only winning.
We also need to move up, though, to the battle for 11th place because Ken Campbell, Christopher Norris, they were forced 3 wide the previous lap. Drew Jua is on a mission to get into 10th place. If he's not able to, he is going to be fuming as the 77's trying to settle in and get a good run to attempt another dive bomb move on this 38 and the 15, or at least one of them if possible. He'll march high, try to get a good run off the exit of the corner, and it's down into turn 1 where it looks like for the 77, Drew Jua is trying to set up a pass on Christopher Norris. There's the run, there's the pressure, and to the inside of the Grimace machine is Drew Jua, and finally having a chance to at least stay side by side. But Norris, because he's on the outer groove, gets the better run, holds the position for now, but they stay side by side through 3 and 4. But the 77 again just can't get the run, and this is the trouble of being 30 laps into this race.
The trouble, like you said, 30 laps in, the track just does not have the grip. This track never has any grip, really. It's hard to make these passes. It's hard to pass at any track. Everyone's obviously trying to go as fast as they can, brake as late as they can. But right now, these brakes are hot, the tires are hot. There's just no grip. You want to get to the outside of a car, but no one's going to let you get to that outside to pinch them down.
Yeah, getting pinched down, difficult. I know also, behind the scenes, there's been rivalries building up, not on track as often as we would think. But I know a lot of people have been having little small rivalries with the Lucky Ducks drivers. I mean, you see how they're trying to take every tactic possible. We saw during qualifying, it backfired here tonight, but some drivers are racing them a little bit more aggressively than I think they would other drivers throughout this race, and trying to hold back any Lucky Duck drivers from making it to the championship round is going to be a tall task for themselves, as Drew Jua finally able to get at least a nose ahead of Christopher Norris. Now going to try to set up a pass on Ken Campbell, goes a little bit too wide, gets into the 15, and Norris thought that he was going to be able to make a switchback move. Not able to do so, but 34 laps in, the stage is closing up, and the main position is Chris Ditz in the blue and white, number 17. That is your 10th place cutoff driver. Now it's going to turn into Tom Bourne. Tom Bourne having issues, and now Ken Campbell is that 10th place position. Tom Bourne loses spots, trouble off the exit of turn 2, and now Campbell is the final 10th place spot. Bonus points are now in the grasp of Drew Jua.
Tom Bourne gives up about an 8th place position there. Coming out of the corner, just seems like he has some issue. Lost a couple ground, and that's going to change everything. This battle right here is 4 points. You are watching live. The 77, the desperation right now of needing to get around the 15th, at least get 1 point. 1 point might not sound like much, but how many times does it come down to a tie or 1 point? So the 77 right now, he has 4 laps to do it. He's got to get around this 15.
And Drew Jua entering tonight just being 3 points behind Brian P. Johnson. And for Johnson, he currently runs 4th. This gap is going to implode and get much bigger after this stage is over. A lot of the other contenders that are already inside of our top 16 are running far up on the leaderboard currently. They are going to make this race turn into someone that's in our top 6 entering tonight has to completely fall apart after this stage to give any opportunity for Aaron Smith II, John Forbes Jr., Drew Jua, Larry Yingling, or Joshua Kanata to get back into this fight because of how well those top 6 in points are performing this evening of Johnson, Vincent, Sora, Kelly, Hall, and Rogers at this time.
They are performing extremely well. It's like the cream has all risen to the top, it seems, right here at Richmond tonight. But you were on board right here with Douglas Newbig in this 7 machine coming out of the corner. You can hear him have to get out of the throttle, trying to complete that pass on the inside, holding that car down, just trying to ask more out of those tires. You heard him have to get out of the throttle, get extremely loose coming out. That's what happens to some of these drivers. They get loose, they have lift, they can't catch the slide, and that's how they end up smacking the wall.
Smacking the wall, and for Douglas Newbig being able to stay in front of Tom Bourne, battling for that 10th place spot. Drew Jua, for a moment, had a nose ahead over Ken Campbell. Campbell still fighting for this 10th place spot to hold it for himself. And now we're on the final lap of the stage. Will it be Ken Campbell? Drew Jua. Jua needs this position. Campbell racing for the best of the rest. And Drew Jua, a little bit of a wiggle, giving Campbell the chance to stay side by side down into turn number 3. But it looks like for Campbell, he's trying to set up for a clean pass off the exit of the corner. They're going to let 10th place race it out. It's going to be between Ken Campbell and Drew Jua, and Campbell holds on. Drew doesn't get the point.
He saw how sideways the 77 came out of the corner. I mean, he did a good job just not overcorrecting and turning back head on into the wall like we've seen happen previously at these tracks. That was just tremendous right there. It was a small moment, might have not looked like much on TV, but Sam, imagine if he overcorrected that car coming to the caution.
And that was something also talked about during practice of if you overcorrect, your race is most likely over. You kind of have to just let the car spin out. That's what Drew did. He was able to hold on and save it for 11th place. So still able to fight for another day, but those bonus points, that one crucial bonus point that maybe instead of this being ballooned out to over double digits points that you're behind, maybe it could have been 9, could have been 8. But instead, it is going to be a big picture to watch out for as we'll try to calculate the points at our next commercial break. But for the drivers, they enter pit road, they're going to get service done, and it's Vincent Sora leading the way. Curious if maybe we would see anyone that's further on back, such as a Joshua Kanata, if he would stay out, try to lead a lap, get a bonus point that way, and since he's so far back. But it looks like everyone coming into pit road, 4 tires and fuel, expecting that maybe this stop could be one of the final stops of the night unless we stay green after this. But Justin, our first stage is over. 1 caution in the books. What some great racing these first 40 laps have given us.
Richmond, it did put on a good racing. It put on some close battles. You see right here, we got a close battle off pit road. They kind of all take off at the same time, and luckily no contact made. But lap 43, like you said, they getting in there, getting those tires changed. I think these drivers right now, I'm actually shocked that no one stayed out to lead a lap, like you said. I mean, I would think Joshua Kanata, why not? I think that would be a smart move, get that 1 point, and that might be your only chance.
As drivers are going to get service done further on back, as Shane Tarian getting the lucky dog spot is back on the lead lap after getting his service done, as he will now be set to the end of the line. But for us, we're going to go up to our leader currently and see if we can get a quick chat with Vincent Sora, our stage winner, and see how he's feeling after those first 40 laps. Vinny, you win the stage, maximizing points there with leading the lap, winning the stage. Man, how are you feeling after these first 40 laps of the race?
I feel really good. This was a race that I had circled on the calendar. I love this racetrack, and I've shown it in this league and in other ones just how dominant I can be here. And winning the pole was big because I know that clean air means so much. So, yeah, those points really helped me. I know I was kind of close to the cutoff there. So now from here on out, I'd love the win, but I just need to be smart and keep myself out of trouble to make it in the next round.
Yes, like you said, you need to be smart, but you're doing a great job up there. But like you said, when you look in your mirror right now, though, you look up there, you see all those drivers all year that have been right up there being really fast. So I'm sure you got a plan here on this restart to make sure you keep them all behind you.
Yeah, I think I pushed a little bit too hard in that last run. at the early stages of it. So I think this run I just need to take it a little bit more easy and see what happens if we go green here.
Well, Vinny, we'll send you back to your team here, but congratulations on the stage win. Enjoy this one, and good luck, and hopefully we talk to you at the end of the night.
Thank you, boys.
That will be your Nightmare Fuel driver of Vincent Sora, your stage winner so far here tonight. Did a couple of notes in, and everyone that was inside of our top 6 in points entering tonight, Justin, every single one of them got stage bonus points. That is a ridiculous number. The only driver that was outside of our cut line that got stage bonus points, Larry Yingling, got +6 with where he finished in 5th place. Everyone else too far back. That is going to be making a massive hole when the points were so close entering tonight.
The points are always close here, so anytime you can get any point, it matters. But all those drivers being up there, they got the points, and that's what the drivers in the back that didn't get them, they got to. Right here, you see Aaron Smith coming out of the pits. Late going to be able to catch up, but Josh Granada, those guys, they got to somehow figure out what they need to do to get these finishes here. As we're about to go green, flag is out.
Green flag is out for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation 180 here tonight at Richmond. Vincent Sora is out front, wanting to lead every single lap if possible, and everyone else fighting behind. Ryan Kelly, Zach Hall, Brian P. Johnson, the rest of the field trying to figure out how to get to that yellow line as soon as possible. One driver, though, miserable start for himself. Drew Jua, again, starting so far off. He did not catch up to the tail end of the group in time. The 77 will have to find himself trying to rebound in a way, but that's going to be asking for a caution if possible. But currently at this moment, we continue to stay green.
Brian P. Johnson maybe missed a corner there or something, but extremely high, way up there, losing a couple spots. It wasn't too long ago he was up in 3rd place, but now going to be side by side with 13, entering the corner. Brian P. Johnson falling back a few spots there. But Sam, I have to wonder, what was Drew Jua doing going back in, popping off on fuel, getting that extra lap or two? Is he seeing something maybe where he's thinking, hey, maybe I can make it here from here on out?
Oh, and Drew Jua got a black flag while having to go. He has to go back in the pit road for service to be done. The 77's night could be over already. He's got a 40-second hold, it looks like, as the rest of the field puts him 1 lap down, maybe 2, potentially could be 3 laps before he can finally take off and go.
I'm really curious what exactly the penalty was for. Maybe at the blend, the commitment line, coming out of the pits or something. But Sam, I mean, he was on his way to getting the bonus point, couldn't get the job done. Now, unfortunately, he's going to be, like you said, 2 laps down, and without cautions, how is he going to catch back up?
Oh, the frustration is mounting even more for the 77. Luckily, it was only a 20-second hold for himself. Drew Jua's race, he'll only be 2 laps down by getting back out on course, but this is going to be a long night. He needs a couple of cautions and to get those lucky dog spots back, if possible, here this evening. But up front, it is still going to be Vincent Sora, a couple of other drivers that are trying to ramp their way forward. You see there the 16, Joshua Kanata, Brian McCann, they're racing for 14th position. John Forbes able to move up to 12th. So John Forbes has done a pretty decent job in the 11 machine to recover as much as he can. Again, was once battling for 4th and 3rd place before being shipped off and spun out by Gavin Rogers. The 11 is trying to recover as much as possible, and for John Forbes, his race might turn into a must-win scenario with the way that these points and some of those top drivers are racing at this moment.
He might just be the driver to get it done. He's learning right now how to pass, having to come from the back, and he seems to have a pretty fast car. He's up there picking them off, trying to get a couple cards each lap. Might not be too long that he's going to be back up in that top 5 battling these drivers.
As we're watching Christopher Norris, Ken Campbell, they're back to their duel that is now for 10th place after a couple of drivers slipping up. Tom Horn, who was instead of our top 10, he's fallen back to 20th position, where Shane Tarian also runs as Campbell into that outside wall. And Justin, you can kind of touch on this track a little bit more than probably I could on the fact of how unique Richmond is with the exit of turns 2 and off the exit of turn 4.
Yeah, let's go on board right here. We'll stay, all right, even right here might give us even a better angle. Right here, you come out of this corner and you think you can slide up. You're trying to carry the speed, and the track doesn't have to grip. Even on new tires, you can kind of start running out of grip really fast. You got to slow down really hard here. Some of these drivers will choose to shift, and if you do, you're coming out with all that power. And this track coming out is shaped like a D, where this turn is extremely tight that they just came out of. and then they're going to come in here where they have a easier turn to get into. But the problem is trying to exit and carry that speed. You start sliding the rear end and you just come up and slap that wall right there. And especially how it's white and red like that, it kind of just plays on your eyes so easy, and you kind of get sucked into it. Very, very easy. Right here, going to be a flat exit coming out of that corner, and same thing. You just kind of see right there how you turn to the right a little bit on that steering wheel. That was that car just getting a little loose coming out of the corner. You had to turn a little bit to the right just to keep that rear tire from spinning out.
That's like counter steer to try to keep yourself pointing straight if possible. As John Forbes continues his way forward. Up front, though, the challenge for the lead, we might actually have a true challenger. Zach Hall is putting the pressure on Vincent Sora. First time, I would say, here tonight, besides lap 2, Vincent Sora is having a contender trying to keep up with the 15, and Zach Hall, who's trying to get himself into victory lane once again this season and become a 3-time winner and join the ranks of Ryan Kelly and Gavin Rogers that have both won 3 times this season. But Vincent Sora might have other questions. And these two drivers, the history, Justin, Vincent Sora actually joined the team of Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, and Brian P. Johnson at Category 5. They taught this kid a little nuggets here and there that kind of made Vinny so dominant when he first joined WSSR back in season 4 and 5, where we went back to back. And now for Zach Hall, he wants redemption. He wants to get some payback. They went over Vincent Sora for another time this season, as they had such a dynamic duel. Think back to Indianapolis earlier this season. It looks like we might have another classic in front of us if Vincent Sora can stay on track, as he has a quick blink there as he holds on to the lead.
The Indianapolis race you spoke of, it was such a fun battle, and we remember hearing, and right now we got the battle. Here he is, Zach Hall dropping to the inside. The problem's going to be, how do you get around? We see how hard this is to pass. We know Zach Hall is going to be good, but can he do it? Ryan Kelly right now is watching these two battle and saying, do it for about 5 more laps, and I'm going to be up there.
Battle hard as much as you want, but don't wreck if you want both drivers to make it to the next round of the playoffs, as we hop on board the 32 Category 5 esports machine of Zach Hall, as he's under the banner of Snowy Desert Racing. And Zach Hall, Vincent Sora, they continue to be side by side, as our observer and also producer Robert Ware Jr. could see, trying to track Vincent Sora, the way that he's moving high, low, and defensive lines to try to cut off any kind of a switchback move that we have Zach Hall trying to attempt here this evening.
Yeah, that was a great camera angle that we had right there. You saw how the 32 in the middle of the corner was higher than the 51, but then he was able to turn to the left. Right here, he's doing the same move. He's expecting to get down to the yellow line a little bit sooner, and he's going to come out just a speck. Not able to do it right there like I was hoping, Sam. The previous lap, really, Zach Hall got that exit really down and was able to make that work. But right now, it looks like he's back to the tire, following the tire marks in there, maybe trying to pull those tires off for another run. But when I've raced against Zach Hall one time, I'll never forget, first time I ever raced against him, exhibition race, just he was doing the broadcasting for Freaky Fast. He got in there, did the exhibition race, he started 16th, and it was like lap 30, and he drove to the lead, and I was like, what in the world just happened? And he went on to win by about 7 seconds, and that's when I was like, this guy knows what he's doing at Richmond.
He certainly does, and he will continue to try to build his own path. Updates for drivers further on back. Again, Drew Jua still 1 lap down for himself. Other competitors that are trying to make it into the playoffs, Aaron Smith II, who, with the lack of points grabbed, he still has a chance to point his way in, but has to make sure that he is 8 points ahead of Brian P. Johnson, as Johnson currently runs in 6th place, and Aaron Smith II's back in 20th. We also climb back up to 14th place where we find Joshua Kanata, who is now officially in a must-win scenario for the 16 machine. And then John Forbes Jr., he can still point his way in, but his gap is now 9 points to Brian P. Johnson, but John Forbes is in 12th place. All other contenders that are hunting for a playoffs are in our top 7, and they continue to show some great pace for themselves this evening. The scattering of some, like you said, kind of seeing the cream filter to the top. It is one of the races that we're seeing these drivers, those that put in the practice and the time, they're showing out with their incredible speed up front.
Yeah, they just have the brakes dialed in, and I think that's something we'll try and get some camera work later on. Maybe it's just if we can see that red glowing on some of these tires. Maybe some of these drivers just aren't showing as much red, and they're able to get through the corner faster without hammering brakes. Right here, you can see right there. Right now, you can't see it. Sometimes it shows up. It's very interesting how it works with the iRacing. I think the 70 actually kissed the wall. I saw little sparks, but not seeing the brakes going on him, but I have seen it on some drivers going. So it kind of just gives you that indication on who's doing what.
Who's got that a little bit more front tire bias dialed in, others that might have a little bit more rear brake inputs for themselves, but this race is going to continue to go on here this evening. We're on lap 70, 27 laps into this run, and the fuel window we were given was 125 laps to 127. If you were fuel saving, maybe 130 laps. So these drivers were looking to be, if we stay green, about 10 to 15 laps shy for making it to the end of this race. Curious, we've seen this the last 2 weeks of these races turning into fuel mileage runs of drivers trying to save fuel all the way through a run that we've seen. Curious here, Justin, on if this race, if it being 15 laps off, do you think maybe someone might attempt to try to back up their pace and aim for that, or is everyone full bore till we run out with those 20 and 15 laps to go, and then we'll pit, or maybe we'll pit halfway through this run?
I'm saying this from the heart. I'm speaking true right now, Sam. I really think someone will do it, and I'm not saying it to try and make this sound exciting. The reason why is last time I raced here, I was one of those drivers who preferred to be in 5th gear, and the amount of fuel extra that I had over other drivers at the end of the runs just seemed like it was about anywhere from 5 to 7 laps, and that was with me out not even trying to save fuel. So I think of a driver, I believe, at 70, he came off of pit road right as they were going to green. I think he went in to top off, so we already know he has about an extra 2 laps of fuel right there. And if he's running in 5th gear, and if he's saving fuel, he might be thinking, I'm going to the end. And drivers who know that they can't make it to the end, they're going to probably be pitting, so they're going to go 1 to 2 laps down. Not sure when they will decide to pit, but they'll want to get those fresh tires and split it. I would imagine they're not going to go until 10 laps to go. They'd rather get the fresh tires and utilize that.
Fuel and tires got to be the big talking point as this run progresses on. We're still not even halfway, but single file and it's just survival mode. It's kicked in as drivers know this race is really going to ramp up once those green flag pit stops happen. But for us up in the booth, I think we're going to take our first commercial break of the evening. I want to say thank you so much to everyone that's joining with us here this evening to watch the WSSR Cup Series on your Wednesday night. It's the playoff cutoff race of the round of 11 to figure out our championship 6 that will race for a championship for these next 2 races. But tonight's race, such a special one, we will never forget as we've honored the Tunnel to Towers Foundation 180 here tonight at Richmond. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WSSR Cup Series on a Wednesday night on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me up in the booth is Justin Malarkey, and running productions as well is going to be Robert Moyer Jr. Tonight's action is the last race of the round of 11. After tonight, we will be down to our 6 drivers that will have a 2-race shootout to see who will win the championship for Season 9. Majority of those 6 drivers that look to be the favorites to move on to the next rounds are currently up front having a spectacular day. Cedric Hunter, the only driver that was automatically locked in after his win last week at Charlotte. But we've seen Gavin Rogers up front. Zach Hall also battling for second currently. Ryan Kelly and Brian P. Johnson having great runs for themselves. But the driver that's been dominating and currently is trying to lead the most laps to get that bonus point. If he leads the next 5 to 6 laps, Vincent Sora will then have the most laps led and a lap led bonus point on top of winning the stage. Vinny is feeling very confident and comfortable up front at this time. But the drivers that are now in a very much, we might be in a must-win scenario, is Joshua Kanata, Larry Yingling, Drew Jua, John Forbes Jr., and Aaron Smith II. It is a complete nightmare for all those drivers because those that they needed to not get stage bonus points got them. And Justin, those drivers that need good runs, they're outside of the top 10 currently, except for Larry Yingling, who runs in 5th.
Yeah, and speaking of Larry Yingling, he's having a great quiet night right there in 5th spot. We haven't talked much about him, but I'd expect to see him probably be up there in that top 2 eventually before this night ends. But yeah, as you mentioned, Joshua Kanata, he's got to definitely get up there. He's in 13th right now, and we saw him before when we were watching it. We got a car up there in the wall, actually, maybe just trying to get out of the way, letting these drivers go by. That looks like it's the 4. We talked to him, Justin Forbes right there, going to run really high, just trying to get these laps under him. You know, he's one of our newer drivers, just doing a great job pulling over there, Sam, not risking getting caught up with anyone.
Yeah, just trying to stay out of the way, and that's what he's been doing for most of this race after kind of losing touch to the field early in this run as we are crossing over to halfway here tonight. It is, it's kind of your regular Richmond race, I would say here, Justin. It's a race track that either we have a caution fest or we get a long green flag run where the drama kind of ramps up at pit stop time as halfway is up. Also want to give a shout out to our race control for the WSSR, being Steve Benjamin, who's been informing drivers when the stage yellow's coming out, halfway numbers, and also helping drivers dispute when there are penalties given out. As this field continues to stay green, I think it's going to turn into one of those races of, can we continue to keep with that type of a run? As one driver having trouble around our leader, it looked to be the 98 machine of Ben Keeney, as he was getting close to some of our top runners. It actually makes contact with our leader of Vincent Sora the lap prior, which now gives Zach Hall a chance. And once again, just like Indianapolis, a lap car giving Zach Hall a chance to get to the back bumper.
He's got to run. He's going to try and maybe poke below him, and not going to do it. Going to actually enter this corner higher. We expect to see him cut the car down into the middle of the corner if the tires still have the grip. And he just does not have the speed coming out of the corner. The 51's actually going to kind of pull away a little bit. So we had a moment, but I tell you what, that 3 car, we know how good he is on the long runs. We always think, is he not going to have the long run car tonight? And then before you know it, 40 laps into the run, he really has the tires saved, and the competition for him starts to heat up, and he's able to reel in these drivers. He's right there, Ryan Kelly, running down the 32 and the 51. But don't look too far behind because Gavin Rogers is coming. And I know we spoke about Larry Yingling, but Sam, I got to tell you, Nick Crawford, he's laying down some laps.
He certainly is. He's been skewed and patient. Also, the incident between Vincent Sora and looking at Ben Keeney, that contact was Vincent Sora drifting up into the lap car and making contact there. But this race, we talked about at the top of the broadcast, there was going to be change as the weather conditions pop up. It is starting to cool off just slightly here as the air temperature is 74 degrees Fahrenheit. The track temp at 85. It was up to 87 at one moment during practice. So it's cooled off 2 degrees. The wind's not too harsh. Humidity's not too bad either. But we're still in the early stages of the nighttime conditions, and we're only halfway through this race. There can still be that transitional change later on, but I think we're pretty set in stone here, Justin, of these drivers staying where they're at, as now Christopher Norris and Brian P. Johnson, they get for a ski side by side, battling for 8th place position.
battling for 8th place position. 38-28, trying to see who's going to get around. 38, Christopher Norris, he's got that preferred exit on the outside. He's going to be able to clear and move in front of Brian P. Johnson. And the battle in front, and actually, right, if you look at it, we actually saw some of that brake glow in there. So track's starting to get a little darker, and we talked about it before, the brakes glowing a little bit gives us that little idea. But the battle that happened in front, Nick Crawford, we just talked about him, but he actually lost a spot. The driver moving up around, that's Nick Crawford getting passed by Cedric Hunter now. And Sam, that's our guy that won last week. He's starting to look to maybe, can he go back to back?
Yeah, I mean, Cedric's been an interesting driver to watch, even from the start of the race. Well, after our first caution back on lap 5, we had the restart on lap 10. Cedric Hunter was back in like 16th, 17th position, and he's been slowly, methodically passing drivers and just enabling this machine to kind of move on its way forward as much as he wants. And at this time, I would say Cedric Hunter is looking very consistent, and that's the big thing that helps a driver at a racetrack like Richmond. Consistency is the key to make sure that you're always moving forward.
And you can see, even though he's got those pink wheels, we were able to see a little bit of that glow that our producer was able to pull up on camera. So, but I saw the glow happen on both wheels at the same time, so he's not really abusing it. Right there, you see a little bit more brightness in the front, but he's got the car hooked up, and he's not going to be behind Larry Yingling for long. I feel he might be able to drive right around him at the rate he's going. As you see right here, you're going to enter turn 1. That's about a 3-car length gap. We're on board right here with a 13 Hello Kitty car. Just sounds nice coming out of the corner. You don't hear the engine getting too loud. That's an indication of no wheel spin, which is good. Gets on the brakes. You don't hear anything violent happening. I don't hear shifting really either, Sam.
Yeah, and I think the big thing also is we're not hearing a lot of flirting with the throttle pedal. It's just smooth in, smooth out on what we're looking for. And you can see Cedric Hunter, 4th gear, going to be primarily for most of the track. And then it's once you hit the start-finish line that you shift up and then shift back down immediately into turn 1. It's very quick that some of these drivers deal with. And for some, they actually will, if they don't get a good run off the exit of turn 4, they'll just stay in 4th. Sometimes the quick shift up isn't worth it. And there's the quick shift up to 5th. And then right as they enter into the corner, right back down to 4th. And for Cedric Hunter, this is rewarding him currently. But as this run progresses on, the question is this helping your tires with having a little bit of extra torque with being on a lower gear? Or is it going to be something where all drivers are just feeling so hurt later in a run where it doesn't matter what gear you're in at that point?
Yeah, that's some great feedback you had there about 2 seconds only in 5th gear. So we didn't hear them mad shifting because we had to ride on board that whole entire lap until we heard them shift at the end of the front straightaway. But like you said, are you paying a price? Or Sam, also, is it helping slow the car down with that 4th gear? Maybe just kind of getting the car wound up a little bit more too, so maybe it pays the price on the exit, but maybe it helps save some of the tire getting into the corner. It's the fascinating thing which makes racing so fun is you can run a track fast multiple ways, and each way can be fast depending on your driving style.
Certainly can, as Brian P. Johnson is going in the wrong direction. The 28 machine, who got some massive points for himself, has to be careful. Johnson has currently fallen back to the clutches of drivers that are outside of the cut line of John Forbes. Joshua Kanata, 11th, 12th position, could be falling back to 13th is Johnson, and he does not have a full safety net secure that he is going to make it to the next round. Johnson only has a 8-point buffer over Aaron Smith II, only a 9-point buffer over John Forbes. Larry Yingling is going to be trying his best to catch up, but that's an 11-point points difference between Larry Yingling and Brian P. Johnson. So Johnson at this point, his big competitor to watch out for would be Larry Yingling. And if you're Johnson, you cannot fall outside of 17th position. Otherwise, you could be in trouble here.
And that's just really scary for him because right now he's in 15th spot and it does not seem like the car is handling it all. And you have to wonder, what is he going to do? He's going to have these 14 GT Zari, Jujua, who we know is not on the lead lap, but they're just going to be presenting problems for the Brian P. Johnson. And we know he's a fast driver. He was running up in 3rd spot not too long ago. We talked about him challenging Zach Hall and maybe getting into 2nd. And right now he's about to be 3 wide on this front straightaway. This is not what he wants to see.
No, it's not. And GT Zari is someone that you got to be careful with because you've got to remember he got pushed around earlier by Drew Jua and a couple of other drivers trying to get around him, and John Forbes, they were muscling around this 14. And so for Brian P. Johnson, the driver you're concerned about is the 7 who just got underneath you. Now Larry Yingling is in a spot where you saw his competitors all around him, but in a blink of an eye, Brian P. Johnson is fading back to the clutches of that window that you cannot be in right now, back to 11th point difference. And we are now tied in points now for Larry Yingling and Brian P. Johnson. Danny Cochran's going to try to get by, and that's another position you cannot afford to lose if you're this 28 machine.
You hate to be the one that has to suggest it, but you have to wonder if you're a fan of the 28, do you have to start wondering, does that driver, is he going to maybe come in and be the one that gets tires first and try and gain back some of that time? I know the risk is going multiple laps down, but if you expect this whole field to have to pit, minus maybe 1 or 2 guys who potentially stayed out and conserve fuel, do you go in and get those early tires now, Sam? I mean, we have under 70 to go, so can you go and get that fresh rubber if you know everyone else is going to pit?
Or is this maybe a thought of this is a window where you realize, wait, I can make it on fuel if I extreme save from here on out? And maybe that's been the call from Johnson, is the fact of how quick he dropped from being inside of our top 4 to now all the way down here in 17th. And he was running very close laps to our leader, and now is a full half second off of Zach Hall. This could be a strategy call, but he's in 4th gear, so it's a hard thing to figure out if it's a complete handling failure or a strategy call for this 28, who now is down to 19th place. If this race ends right here, right now, Johnson would not race for a championship. He would be eliminated before the round of 6.
I am not able to figure it out. Like you said, why would he be down in 4th gear if he's trying to save fuel? But why did he drop off the pace so fast? We haven't seen other cars really drop off like that, unless he just was really pushing so hard and didn't realize how much it was burning up the car. But I have to wonder, what is he going to be thinking right now? He has to be very cautious, like you said, of where Larry Yingling is on track. And right now, Larry Yingling in 6th spot. And like you said, this race ends. That's not going to be good for Brian P. Johnson. He's not going to be able to advance, and he's been a driver who's just so fast each week.
Each and every week, you got to be closer and closer. Looking at other drivers also of note, it's just a 4-position difference between John Forbes and Larry Yingling at points after that stage was over, and enabling, bringing in stage bonus points where drivers are now. Larry Yingling, John Forbes could gain a couple of more spots, and then he would be in position to actually jump over Yingling and Brian P. Johnson, steal that spot. So John Forbes also isn't completely out of the championship hopes now, based on where Johnson runs currently.
No, and the 11 is fast. We know he's fast. We think he can definitely gain more positions. He just had that issue in the beginning of the race where he was kind of just punted up into the wall, as you see a driver right there on pit road. But John Forbes, he could potentially definitely get back inside the top 6 or 7. He's only about 4 seconds away from 7th position, so if the car can continue to stay better and continue to get fast as this run goes on, he could advance 3 or 4 more positions before this race ends.
Again, it's just a 4-spot difference, so that's 2 positions that John Forbes Jr. needs to move up on, and that is only about 1.5 seconds off of where these drivers are at currently. A couple of passes have been happening up front. You saw the Cedric Hunter pass over Gavin Rogers. The battle for 2nd place is currently raging on, where Ryan Kelly and Zach Hall are swapping back and forth, and currently Ryan Kelly will be in that 2nd place position. You noted on a driver pitting, that was Justin Forbes, who made his pit stop for the 4 machine. Another driver that pitted earlier was the 07 of Brian Noel, getting a little bit of service done. And first driver inside of our top 10, Nick Crawford, is now just entered pit road.
So this opens it up. Drivers are going to be, there's 60 to go. So that's when they decide to pit. Is anyone else going to pull it in? Zach Hall, is he going to slow it down?
Brian P. Johnson has pitted. He was not stretching. That was a complete mechanical failure on tires. Johnson has to hit pit road now. This has gone from bad to worse, but he has to go with the early pit stop to recover some of this time that he's given up.
And time he will be recovering. He will be definitely a good second faster, 1.5 seconds faster potentially. He will make up a ton of time, but how much will he hurt later on in this run? We saw the car kind of just fall off instantly. But you have to start wondering, when will other drivers pit? How much time are they willing to give up? They're going to be doing that calculation in their mind. Or are some drivers out here thinking that they can make it further? This is going to be the fun part in this race where we have to really try and decipher this.
Brian P. Johnson went from this race, it just might be her top 6, moving on to our championship 6, and in a blink of an eye, it is now turned upside down. Will Johnson's mistakes of losing time and ground and with the early pit stop be the demise of our Season 1 champion, the WSSR, from having a chance to race for another attempt at a championship? Or could it be someone else trying to steal that away? Larry Yingling runs in 5th place. John Forbes now up to 9th. And Aaron Smith the 2nd, another driver of focus. Again, he was only 1 point off entering tonight. He's now officially 8 points behind are going to be Brian P. Johnson. He's catching up to John Forbes. Those are going to be the 2 drivers that race it out to maybe steal those points late. As seeing the 70 machine, watching his teammate Drew Jua trying to work the outside lane as Joshua Kanata has a slip up and holds back the Lucky Ducks machines.
If you are a fan of the Brian P. Johnson machine, you have to be praying right now. You do not want to caution when you see those cars get sideways like that. You're hoping to correct it and save. Right now, the 16 got really loose coming out of the corner, but he's still battling hard with the 70. And the 70 was the one driver I was wondering, is he going to try and go on fuel? We saw him do it at Darlington not too long ago. Is that why he was topping off, or did he have damage? I'm just not sure exactly what he was doing on pit road coming to the 1 to green. But right now, he might be the one driver who might be trying to stretch this race.
Could he stretch it out long enough? And Aaron Smith has been kind of the clutch when you look at the speed late in fuel saving runs. He's been one of the fastest drivers late at Darlington when that race looked like it was coming down to a fuel mileage run. Last week he topped off and is absolutely baffled on how majority of the field were able to save fuel and make it to the end, but he was one of the quickest drivers there late. This 70 machine might have to be 3 races in a row where it comes down to strategy. But at Richmond, you know there's always a chance. It's always looming in the background of a late caution, a driver self-spinning, someone getting a little bit too aggressive. The complete change of the closing rate for some of the drivers that just took tires and how close they're going to be closing in on the drivers that are on older tires. That could also be a factor that could bring in a caution. There's a lot of factors, and we're coming down to our final 50 laps to go. This is the drama time that we've been waiting for. And Justin, we don't know who has got the best strategy at this moment. It is wide open on who's still going to be in or out with Brian P. Johnson's decision to pit this early.
So many factors, like you mentioned. That's what makes it really fun here at Richmond. And one thing we didn't even get to touch on is the leader. He's going to be in like lap traffic shortly. At the rate he's going, he's about 5 seconds behind from being in there with Tom Bourne and Brian McCann and Danny Cochran, those drivers. I mean, you see right here out front, doesn't have a clear track, so you have to wonder, is he maybe going to drive as hard as he can until he gets to those lap cars and then go in and get those fresh tires? As you see right here, it looks like Shane's going to enter the pits. The number 9 machine, the prime car, getting down there on pit road, but a 3.6 second lead for Vincent Sora. You have to think he's going to hit pit road as soon as he sees Ryan Kelly hit pit road. He's going to do it the next lap, and then he'll be able to save that lead and still have the tire advantage.
Yeah, the next lap and the lap after, it's about a 1.5 second difference on pace. So you, with a 3 second gap, you've got a little bit of wiggle room to work with if you make that decision of if you want to pit before or after the driver behind you. As the field continues to race on, still over 19 drivers still need to pit before this race is over. Fuel-wise, yeah, the fuel window we were given was about 125 laps to 127 laps. Curious if the way these drivers have been racing, if the tires could even go that far. But if fuel is just the limit you're looking at, these drivers can still go for another 30 more laps. So it's going to be a 15-lap window before this race is over that we're expecting fuel mileage to maybe cut off. Unless you've been fuel saving, we can go a little bit further than that. But 15 laps to go is when you can stretch it the furthest. And we know someone's making that gamble of staying out as long as you can, Justin. The question is, who's willing to be that driver to do so?
You would think drivers that know that they don't have a chance to advance, they have to do it. They have to stay out as long as they can and just pray for a caution, or pray that they're able to save enough and somehow maybe potentially get that win. I mean, just think about that. Think about if Aaron Smith does it or Joshua Kanata. We don't know exactly maybe no one else pits. Maybe Brian P. Johnson might be the only guy who ends up pitting. Will he be fast and run these drivers down on those new tires, or will they equalize? Nick Crawford's he was on pit road during the time of us talking here. He's back in 19th, and he was extremely fast, so that has to kind of be on Vincent Sora's mind. If Nick Crawford's out here and runs about 10 laps on new tires, he might gain 15 seconds. He was only 8 seconds back.
The strategy calls are wide open for some of these drivers as the laps continue to tick away, and we still wait to see who will be the next driver to enter pit road, as Shane Terrian was the last one to do so. Currently, saw Nick Crawford, the absolute blistering difference in pace between the 74 and the rest of the lead pack group and what their tires are at. A couple of other close battles that are happening on course. Here we see drivers that took tires. Ollie Fonseca actually going a lap down, excuse me, it's the 24, as he's being passed by Cedric Hunter. But for Cedric Hunter, he's slowly chipping away and catching up to Zach Hall. It's been just a couple of hundredths of a seconds off of one another between third place runner of Zach Hall and fourth place runner of Cedric Hunter. But Hello Kitty is slowly chipping away. He's catching up to the third place position. And if you're Cedric Hunter, this has got to give you so much confidence knowing, hey, I won the strategy race last week, and I'm showing out here tonight. I've got pure speed to compete with the other competitors that I'll most likely be challenging for the championship these next 2 weeks.
He definitely has the speed for sure. But you know what, Sam? He's also a driver who seems to always have speed. I think the biggest thing with the 13 is sometimes he doesn't get that exact qualifying effort, and it seems like he gets caught up in something that really isn't his fault. I feel like he's one of those drivers that just seems to somehow be around the accident that happens right in front of him and kind of ruins his day or puts him in a pickle. But when he doesn't have a problem, he seems to always run in that inside that top 5. As you see the 74, Nick Crawford just fly by. That's how fast the tires are, and it has to make you wonder, Nick Crawford, could he be leading this race once the top 5 pit, if they pit?
I don't know if he'll be leading. He's still one lap down and trying to run down drivers that are on the lead lap. But I think once the pit cycle's through, he could be that factor, but he's been out there on service for so long. The difference on tires is going to be huge as pit road is calling for Zach Hall. Cedric Hunter, Snowy Desert Racing, going to make the decision to hit pit road. Danny Cochran also deciding to pit before going a lap down. And also joining the mix is Christopher Norris. So most of Snowy Desert Racing, besides Nick Crawford, pitting here with 40 laps to go in tonight's race.
Pitting with 40 to go, so that's going to be their call now. It's going to be, when does Vincent Sora counter? If he does, you would imagine he's going to probably do it this lap. He doesn't want to give up too much time to Zach Hall, but Ryan Kelly, he's still out there. No, Ryan Kelly's in the pits now. Larry Yingling's out. Larry Yingling, is he going to try and lead the lap if Vincent Sora pits? Let's see. 51 is slowing down. Will Larry Yingling stay out? That's going to be our next drama.
Yingling is on the backstretch as Vincent Soar goes in to get service. Larry Yingling will stay out. Bonus point for the 67. Needed bonus point. That's going to assist him to make this difference a little bit closer for Brian P. Johnson. Now the question for Yingling is, does he continue to lead this race, or will he fall and give it to someone else that might need it? John Force Jr. also continues to stay out on track, as officially Vincent Soar has led the most laps, so he does get that bonus, another extra bonus point for the 51. As Brian B. Johnson marches his way forward, this is the pass to get him back onto the lead lap.
Back on that lead lap, which is very important. 67 got his lap led, which is also important. Both of those drivers are battling to be the one that advances, and they both are on different agendas. Right here, we're riding on board. Look at the front brake glow. Don't see any rear brake. So that might be an indication utilizing heavy front brake for the 67. Is that going to be the one that gets him to victory lane? What is his agenda right now? He continues to stay out. He might just be hoping for the caution to come out.
And cautions could be coming out. Drivers are making mistakes. Now, I don't know if we can bring back the weather, but the track conditions, if they've changed, could be a factor. As we see the weather temps, luckily they're the same as they were earlier, about almost 100 laps ago. But Justin, Danny Cochran, one of the drivers that just pitted to get service done, locked up going down into turn number 1. Broke a toe light. He's into pit road currently. That is something that could happen to some of these front contenders that are yet to pit, is the fact that cold tires could send you off into overcorrecting into the outside wall and ruin your race.
And then if we have the caution, some of these drivers, they are going to be ahead of the other drivers that chose to pit later, like Vincent Sora and stuff. I see right here, it looks like Nick Crawford, he's in 11th position, so he'd be screaming for a caution. He can go and get his fresh rubber and have track position. That would be a huge win for him. Gavin Rogers, he's in the pits right now. But these drivers then that stayed out, Larry Yingling, Ken Campbell, those drivers, they would all be going in to get tires for sure. And everyone who just pitted would also be going in. But you're talking about Vincent Sora being potentially back in 12th, 13th position as of right now if the caution was to come out.
Gavin Rogers going to get service done. He is still leaving. He's leaving pit road now, and he's falling outside the top 20. And oh, it's John Forbes right in front of Lucky Duck's contact. The 11 goes around. Yellow flag is out. That's the drama we were waiting for. This playoff window has completely shooken up, and it's all down to John Forbes once again. Spun around and required damage for the 11.
Required damage tonight is not going how he wants. 2 times there. You're going to see the incident right here coming out of the corner. This is going to be the next corner, I believe. It's going to be coming out of turn 2.
And it's one of those incidences where Forbes just trying to get a little bit too much, loses the rear end at the center, locks it down for a quick moment, overcorrects, gets clipped by Douglas Newbigging, and with oncoming traffic, the yellow flag is thrown, and this race is reset. And for John Forbes Jr., if he didn't get required damage with the contact, that caution actually would have helped him. Instead, he's forced to pit road. He will most likely be the end of the line with the damage repair he has, but this goes perfectly for some of those drivers we were talking about that were gonna stretch it out as long as they could, and those drivers being outside of our cut line. This is that magical caution you were hoping for. The only issue is Vincent Sora, Zach Hall, they were on the lead lap when that caution flag came out, and they've got fresh rubber. They will still be up front on this restart. But for Larry Yingling, Aaron Smith II, for Joshua Kanata, they're back into the mix.
So Vincent Sora, Zach Hall, they choose to stay out. The other Yingling, he's going to be restarting 3rd position with fresh tires, 30 laps to go. I think by the time the tires even begin to wear out, it'll be around lap 20. But how many laps are on Vincent Sora and Zach Hall? Zach Hall definitely has about 2 more laps. 9 and 7 laps were getting reported. So they're going to be heated up, those tires. They're going to have grip for maybe the first 2 or 3 laps. Will Larry Yingling be able to cruise by? Larry Yingling, does he have a chance to win this race? Or how about Ken Campbell starting 4th on the outside? Can he get a great restart, move up into 2nd position, and challenge for this lead?
If Ken Campbell wins, playing a little bit of spoiler from those that are in a must-win scenario. Aaron Smith II also up here in a position where they are all focusing on making sure they're ahead of Brian P. Johnson, who is going to be set back in 12th position. Johnson's the driver of note, but he'll look at some of the other drivers that got pushed further on back. Gavin Rogers, who entered tonight with the biggest bubble of help on his plate. He got a good points day with the fact that he got 5 stage bonus points, so that gave him a 20-point buffer over Aaron Smith II. But that bonus isn't very helpful when you're pushed all the way back to 17th, where a lot of the chaos has been looking to mount up, especially late in these races, and it's going to be less than 30 laps to go. That 75 is not safe this far back.
No, definitely not, for sure. Safety is where he wants to be, is up front, but not back there. He was just on pit road as that caution came out. I mean, you talk about the ultimate anger right there, but I mean, we know he's fast. We expect to see him probably move up here in these final 28 laps, but up front, this restart is going to be really, really aggressive. I would imagine Ken Campbell, he's sitting there thinking, I could win this race. I got fresh rubber. Those guys in front of me, they have almost 10 laps on their tires. If they get to racing, can he make a move? Will he attempt to go 3 wide in turns 3 and 4 where it's a little bit wider with the fresh rubber? Will he run it up the track?
All questions. We continue to keep our eyes out on 4, and it just is more and more chaos mounting up of who has got a chance to win here this evening, as still going to be trying to update the numbers when we can. It's a little difficult at this time to keep the numbers perfect on where the drivers are at, but looking at this field at the moment, it is all still wide open on who could be in or out. Cedric Hunter's the only one smiling, know that he's good, as we are back to green flag action. Coming up to third. Going to be 27 laps to go here tonight for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation 180. And Vincent Sora looking good on this restart, but the fresher tire is going to be Larry Yingling behind him. Yingling wanting to get up front. Winner of the first time they ever ran at this race back in season 2. Wants that lead position. But Vincent Sora, the last time they were on this car and track combo, he was the one that was in victory lane. As they go down into turn number 1, it's still single filing between the 51-67 as the field is trying their best to keep it all together here off the exit of turn 2.
67, though, he's got to run down the back straightaway.
Oh, no, Kanata's wrecking behind. Kanata in the middle of the field. Multiple drivers trying to scatter around him, but caution flag is out.
16, Kanata, we're going to get this replay here shortly, but that's going to probably do it for him. He's not going to have a chance now. He gave it all he could.
And Joshua Kanata racing hard off the exit of the corner, snapped loose. Don't know if he got any help off the exit of the corner. I think he just lost it on his own. And that is such a frustrating moment in time as other drivers that came in, Ollie Fonseca, but there it is, snapping loose, tries to save it, overcorrects, snaps on the brakes, and he's gone. And Ollie, nowhere to go.
No, unfortunately, Ollie, innocent victim, caught up. But the 16, I think he just planted that gas pedal down coming out of the corner, and just the rear tires took off. I think it's a product of the cold temps too. You're going to get it right here. Look at that. You can hear it. Corrects once to the left, once to the right. Just not able to save it, and then the impact here is really what does them in.
Just fighting for everything are some of these drivers, and just was not there. As Joshua Kanata, who was in a must-win scenario with the way that the stage points were gifted out, is looking like his night could be over and a chance for a championship also snuffed out. And for Joshua Kanata, he came into tonight and into the playoffs feeling like the underdog in every round he'd entered last season. Shocked everyone, made the final 6 for a chance to race for that championship, and he knew he was running with some of the top dogs of the league, and he was just proud that he made it to that round. I think for Kanata, he can keep his head high on the fact that he made it to the round of 11. But he, again, must-win scenario for Kanata. He's got a lot of work if he wants to get it done. It might need a little bit of luck, if possible, here tonight, because as these laps tick away, you're going to need almost a complete catastrophic failure from everyone up front if you're the 16th, if you're going to win this race.
You never know. Sometimes these races get crazy on these restarts, but we would have to expect that there's going to be some level of give and take from some of these drivers out there. Would have to have some respect, not going to run over each other here with an elimination round race, but you do not know. So if you're the 16, you got to just try and get out there, get on the lead lap, and at least salvage a finish. You don't know what can happen.
As the field gets ready for this restart, Brian P. Johnson looking to be the one driver that's really in the weird spot on points, but with the calamity and positions being gained, Johnson is right where he needs to be. Currently, did a little bit of update on some of the points so far that we have on drivers, and it's going to be only a 9-point advantage for Johnson for the rest of this race, with Larry Yingling grabbing that bonus point for leading a lap. But with it being just that close, just 9 points, 11 points going to be the difference for those drivers. I'm looking at where Johnson's at. Johnson needs to fall to at least 12th or 13th for Yingling to steal this away based off of points. Otherwise, you gotta win this thing if you're one of those drivers outside looking in.
Winning always cures everything, makes it easy. You don't have to worry about points when you get that W. But right now on this restart, Larry Yingling, he's thinking, I could get this win. I don't have to be stressed about tallying up points at the end of tonight. Just get that W. He's going to be restarting on the outside. Will he be able to pinch the 51 down? He's got the tire advantage, but we know he's also got a ton of speed. Larry Yingling, a driver we talked to about 2 weeks ago at Darlington, he stayed out thinking that there would be a caution, and there was one at Darlington. The veteran knows that cautions loom when you get drivers out there on mixed tires.
As the field gets prepared for this restart, will it be the last one, or will we need a couple of more? 20 laps to go for tonight, the last race of the round of 11, to see who will make it to the championship 6. Richmond is not disappointed. We got to see some long green flag runs, but it's time for a little bit of silly season as the field is back to green flag action. It's Vincent Sora, Larry Yingling going to be the drivers up front. Great launch for the 51. Yingling trying to find an opening on the outside. He's almost to the outside quarter panel, but not able to hold strong. Vinny gets the better launch. Further on back, drivers are wrecking. It's only Fonseca, and yellow flag is thrown.
There you see the 24 spinning down the back straightaway. Check the replay on what happened, but now we're going to be under 20 to go, about 16 to go when this race restarts, and you have to start wondering. Vincent Sora is getting a chance to cool those tires off. Larry Yingling, he's going to have to make his move on these restarts if he's going to do it.
Make your move. You got a chance. As this Ben Keeney going around there for a moment, but it was actually the 24 Ollie Fonseca, the driver we're going to focus on here on this restart, as they were trying to take off on the restart and off the exit of turn 2. It just went wrong for the 24 as they were getting going, and seeing these late cautions, it doesn't really help any of the drivers further up ahead, but it's one of those incidences that kind of throw away a chance for these drivers to gain spots further up, as we'll see the lap after this of drivers getting mixy. But honestly, looking at this field, Justin, this wreck really, I would say, helps those drivers that are inside of our top 6 and hurts those that are outside of our top 6 coming into tonight.
And less laps just don't have the chance to get out there and make any moves. You see, looks like that was the replay before, the 16 and the 24 getting in each other there, but then the 24 not having ability to get high enough. That next wreck there on the back straightaway. But yeah, Sam, when we get back to green here, we're going to be about 16 to go. You see John Forbes going to go in and get tires, maybe work on a little bit of damage still. But if you aren't in a position right now to feel like you can advance, I mean, what are your options?
Ride the wall, hopefully, maybe. If that wasn't breaking the rules, I think that's the only thing you got at this point. Ross Chastain it, but I'm pretty sure that's a rule in there that you cannot do that. And also, it's kind of breaking iRacing code of conduct by doing that. But honestly, I think that's the only thing that maybe some of these drivers have, unless Johnson gets caught up in a wreck. Everyone's pretty sealed up with where they run at this moment. They're going to need a little bit of luck and hope that mistakes happen from some of these front runners, as still waiting for the lights to turn off to give us the 1 to go. But I mean, Justin, I mean, it's silly to say, but honestly, doing a Ross Chastain's all that some of these drivers might have.
And that they might have to get desperate, but like you said, not allowed, so we're not going to actually expect to see it, but you never know what people are thinking. But I'm thinking on this restart, Larry Yingling has to be feeling comfortable that he's going to be good in points, but you just don't know. You don't want to put yourself in a position to get clipped by someone behind you, and then before you know it, you're in the wall and your night's over. So yeah, you want to go for the win, but you also got to preserve your finish.
Well, the thing for Yingling is at this moment where drivers run, he's not in. He would have to win to get in, with Johnson currently running in 9th place. That is too many points that Johnson has picked up with, positions he's picked up. Yingling cannot point his way in. He needs Johnson to be outside of our top 12 to point his way in at any way. And so for Larry Yingling, he has to be aggressive. He has to be willing to use a bumper, but this was an issue that we've talked about, I feel like seasons on seasons. I think about the times that it was Robert and myself, Trevor and myself back in the day of seasons 5 and 6 of these guys that are up front. They're friends outside of this league. Sometimes they don't want to ruin a friendship by getting their elbows out and wrecking one another or moving one another for a win. I don't know if we're going to see anyone be willing to make the big move, but if you want to fight for a championship, you want a chance to grab another one for Larry Yingling, you might have to move Vincent Sora out of the way and get into victory lane. If you're Zach Hall, Vincent Sora, just stay where you're at. You're racing for a championship. If you're Aaron Smith II, you also have to get a little bit more antsy up front, but green flag is out. Here we go, the final couple of laps before we see who our championship 6 will become, as Sora gets the better run. Yingling drops to 2nd, and it's the charge out of turn 2. Who will make the big move?
Yeah, Yingling right on the bumper, got a wreck out back. Looked like it was a black silver car. Larry Yingling going to try and make a move. We're going to stay green here. It is John Forbes running up high, but no, the caution is out.
It's Tom Bourne. Caution flag is out. The 06 is the one who gets spun around.
This is turning into that Richmond race where we had a ton of green flag racing, had the one caution with the Forbes incident, and now we are getting multiple back-to-back cautions. And if you're a 67 fan, you just have to start wondering, does he have enough restarts left to get a chance to get around him?
It looks to be a cell spin off the 06. And just with everything he had, try to keep it straight, but at the same moment, 06 gets it done. What a run. And one of our picks, Tom Bourne, not able to get the finish he was hoping for. And I know for most of Sky Motorsports, this has not been the season that they wanted. So they'll have to reset and get prepared for another week. As Shane Tarian falls back in 19th, he's still recovering from earlier wreck where he was involved in our first caution of the day. But up front, Vincent Sora, Larry Yingling, Zach Hall, Ken Campbell, back to what I was talking about before we went to the restart. I mean, Justin, friendships over racing for a championship, it is that weird limbo that you got to be playing with yourself of, well, what is the true limit of trying to move someone that you do trust and you call a friend at the end of the day?
Yeah, you want to be able to race with these drivers, and you want them to also trust you. You don't want them to ever be thinking, okay, this isn't someone I want to be racing around because he races very aggressive, which there's a point where there's aggressive and then there's disrespectful aggressiveness, especially on these types of cars on the short tracks. As real as the iRacing simulator is, it's just always hard on these short tracks to get a good feel exactly if you're leaning on someone just to kind of maybe slide them up the track versus are you dumping them. I mean, you just can't get every single inch of that track and understand it through the steering wheel as much as you could probably in a real car, but still. So it's just hard to kind of move these drivers up the track without just slamming into them so hard. You don't want to wreck your friends, and then you might not get invited to any other leagues with them. So it is a fine line, but I think these drivers have had a long season together and it's been pretty clean for the most part. But I don't foresee some of these drivers up here kind of moving like you said. I haven't seen it out of Larry Yingling. I think he's a respectful driver and not one that's going to want to take a win just by saying, hey, I moved that guy to get the win.
And looking at some of the drivers that are up front, again, some drivers able to get positionings on track position because of the green flag pit stop caution that came out, where we had over 10 drivers still out there on track at the time of the yellow with 40 laps to go. And that caution really did change things up, and it gave a new breath of life for some of the drivers, such as Lucky Ducks. They were really looking dead out of water at moments during this race with the poor qualifying run, some pit strategy calls that put them really far back. But Aaron Smith second, he's up front currently in a spot where, again, he needs to get a win because Brian P. Johnson runs in 8th place. Douglas Newbiggins moved up to 7th position for himself. But the driver of most shock, GT Irizarry, I mean, at one moment we saw him get bullied out of the way of drivers trying to aim for just a top 10 finish. GT Irizarry runs currently in 6th position as we're getting stacked up and ready to go green on this next restart.
Back-to-back weeks of GT Irizarry having some strong runs. He was really good at Atlanta too when we were discussing him, and Charlotte last week we thought maybe he was going to get it done there at one point. We talked about the newer paint scheme coming through, so right now up in 6th spot, showing off that paint scheme again.
As drivers are stacked up and ready to go. It's been a fun one to call. Thank you so much to everyone that's been watching, that's been chatting, that's been interacting throughout the night. We've been enjoying the show. Hit us with the like button as well if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button. We give you coverage 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, with 4 distinct different leagues. But for tonight, less than 10 laps to go. Here we go. 8 to go here tonight. A little bit of lane change before they cross the line. Larry Yangling's got to be careful with that move. He dropped down before he crossed the line. That could be a penalty to look at after the race is over. But further on back, drivers are scattering. They're wrecking. It's GT Irizarry with trouble. More drivers dropping to the inside. They're scattering almost 4 or 5 wide down into turn number 3. Up front, it's Vincent Sora and others, but is stuck in the middle of all that chaos was Brian P. Johnson. He's fallen further on back. GT Irizarry is almost spinning into the grass, but just in a blink of an eye, just in this race, has now got new chances and new breath for drivers that are outside looking in.
7 to go. You see the excitement, the insanity right here. It's under 7 to go. But you said Brian P. Johnson, he dropped back to 10th position, so he lost a little bit of positions there. But Larry Yingling, he's not able to get around Vincent Sora yet. 6 to go. Will he get on the bumper? Will he do anything to 70 right here? He's trying to get around Ken Campbell, move him up into a spot. Aaron Smith in the 4th. Douglas Newbigging. Is he going to get into
Contact. Aaron Smith gets sideways. Moosh pushing up. Ken Campbell. Ryan Kelly goes through. And now it's down to just Yingling all on his own with the wrecking up ahead. It's Douglas Newbigin around.
There was so much going on. I can't believe the 70. I froze for a second just watching his race go from a chance to make it to disaster, but he saved it, and then there's an accident. Restart. There's going to be a 4-lap shootout. I mean, it's going to be green-white checkered, I would think, Sam. Douglas Newbigin, I was about to say we finally got a chance to talk to him in the top 5, and something happened to him again.
And Douglas Newbigin spins around, but here's the chaos that ramps up. So many drivers just bringing out chaos on that restart. But Douglas is the one that spins out as he was getting by the Aaron Smith that spins in front of him or gets bumped around on the entry of the corner. It's going to be, I believe, the lap after this, but it's one of those wrecks where we had it saved, but it was Douglas who saw an opportunity, a little bit of green air, a little bit of clean air in front of him, gasses up early, goes around, and we got a reset. And Aaron Smith II is saved by his teammates spinning around.
Yeah, right here at the 7, so he gets hit from the 15, somehow able to save it, like you were saying. This is just insane. So Douglas Newbigin, he spun coming out of the corner, and then Ryan Kelly right into him. I mean, there was just so much going on.
And looking at the damage, Ryan Kelly entered into tonight. He was only good by just a mere 4 points. He got finished second at the stage, got +9. Kelly only has a 14-point advantage over Aaron Smith II, and the 3 has required damage. He will be in pit road. Will he go a lap down? Because if Kelly goes a lap down, that will solidify him in 22nd position. Aaron Smith II runs in 16th place. That is enough points to take out one of our favorite contenders. And Justin, guess what? We're in overtime.
We're in overtime, but you have to feel for Ryan Kelly. I mean, innocent bystander. He had nowhere to go. The car was sitting in the middle of the track, and oh, wow.
He was able to take off.
No.
Kelly stays on the lead lap. He is still alive in this race, but he's back in 21st position. Damaged 3 machine. He just needs 3 positions, and he will stay locked in where he runs, but by mere just points
But that's
ahead
assuming
of Aaron Smith. But then Yingling, if he wins, it doesn't matter.
Wow. Wow. I mean, but we have not seen Larry Yingling be able to do anything with Vincent Sora on these restarts. I mean, the 67 has to make this move on this restart if he wants to advance. He cannot linger back. He's got to go.
As we get ourselves still waiting for the lights to turn off, that'll be our 1 lap to go. We're going that next time around. We are officially entering overtime. We have 3 attempts if needed. If this is your first time watching an overtime attempt on iRacing, it is a simple green-white checkered. It will be 2 laps to go when we go green. If we complete that first lap without a caution flag being thrown, the race will become official once we take the white flag, and it's all about who crosses the line first. But if we take a caution and a wreck happens on that first lap and iRacing throws a yellow before we complete that first lap, we will go into attempt number 2. We got, again, 3 attempts if needed. That third attempt, slightly different on the rules, as the race could end under yellow. But up front, it's Vincent Sora, Larry Yingling, Zach Hall, Ken Campbell, Tom Sinchek, Aaron Smith II, Christopher Norris, Brian P. Johnson, Cedric Hunter, and guess who's back in the top 10? It's Gavin Rogers, trying to finish out this race. Ryan Kelly, who had been up front all race long, now dealing with damage, has to find a way to just crawl his way and stay inside of our top 18. Drivers up front, ready for the restart. Who is ready for some playoff drama? Will any of the top 6 drivers that entered tonight be knocked out? Let's find out as green flag is back in the air. Vincent Sora gets the launch that's needed. Larry Yingling's going to be right on that tail end in the back bumper. Can he get close to this 51 machine? As Sora's been so perfect off the exit of turn 2. They look good, Justin.
They do look good. Drew way up there on the outside trying to make up any ground he can. Vincent Sora is going to kind of pull maybe about a car length away from the 67. He's going to have 2 laps to go. He's going to have to try and get a run down here to advance, win, and go to the next round. 2 to go. Vincent Sora still doing it. Final lap right now.
It's your white flag presented by Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Few of our playoff contenders still further on back. Their fates up in the air, but up front, it's Vincent Sora. Confident, capable, he'll find himself racing for a championship as he wins here tonight. Larry Yingling's hopes have been diminished, and we're gonna have some fireworks this evening with some of the positionings. Kelly finishes in 19th place. Is he in? Is he out? We'll know in the next 5 to 8 minutes. But we know 2 things. That's the fact that Vincent Sora and Cedric Hunter are in, and Joshua Kanata is out. Everyone else still up in the air.
Wow, Vincent Sora, Larry Yingling, Zach Hall, top 3, but the 51 absolutely dominant this race. We're going to focus on that right now while we figure out the points behind the scenes. But it has to just wonder, how fast is he going to be next week at Wilkes-Barre? And then final race of the season, Las Vegas. I mean, this driver right now, he is rising to the top.
He's shown that he's strong at the short tracks. We already know the dominance at the mile and a half. Vincent Sora, already the 2-time champion of the WSSR Cup Series. He wants championship number 3 to tie Larry Yingling with 3 championships. He gets his 3rd win of the season. The numbers are looking good as Vincent Sora burns it down. We'll be back right after this. We'll talk to Vincent Sora, Larry Yingling, Zach Hall, and whoever was the last driver to make it into the playoffs will be our spotlight driver. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've been trying to look at our calculators. The math has been put in, and we've got ourselves our 6 drivers that will race for a championship. The numbers are wildly close, coming down to just 1 point on who was in or out. Crazy numbers. We will talk about them after our interviews, as we first have to go down to victory lane as another driver is locked in with the win. It's Vincent Sora in the 51. Vinny, winner of the stage. It's got to be feeling good with the amount of laps that you led, the dominance you showed all night, and the fact that you got this win heading into the championship round.
Yeah, man, Richmond is it's my place on here. I just love this racetrack so much. I feel like it suits my driving style in just about every way possible. And the stats reflect it. I got another win here, and I'm just so happy. It's been way too long since I won a race in any of my leagues. I think it's been like 3 or 4 months. I looked up the exact number of days like a week or two ago because I was so depressed that I haven't won in so long for my standards. But I texted Danny earlier, and I was like, man, I'm winning tonight. I hadn't done any practice before I got in the session, but I'm just so confident coming to this racetrack. I know that if I can put myself in a good spot, that I can come away with a win.
Vinny, you came away with a win. I mean, you dominated this race, like you said, and so that has to lead me to the question. I mean, when we go to North Wilkesboro next week, do you feel this is a similar type of track that you can apply what you learned tonight to next week?
Well, I won North Wilkesboro last time we went there in the next gen. I believe. I think I did. And I'm really, really good on the short tracks. So I think, yeah, it could hopefully be another win. That would be big to get myself some points heading into the last race because of this interesting format that we have over here. I really like the format, and I think it's really cool. So, yeah, from here on out, I just need to accumulate a bunch of points and not have any bad races.
I mean, Vinny, this has got to be a confidence builder for sure. Watching how this race was going down, what was going through your mind when you saw that late caution came out in the middle of the green flag cycle, and the fact that you had to make that decision to stay out compared to those that were able to pit?
Yeah, the caution didn't surprise me at all. It's been like the story of my iRacing career, I feel like, especially as of late. There's a caution in the pit cycle every time. I joked about it before the race started. I said, whenever I pit, we'll get a yellow, and it happened. But I hadn't had enough laps on the tires, and there was no way I was going to put myself in a position where I had to drive up through the field. And I knew that I'd cycle out to be the leader because I knew everyone ahead of me was going to pit. So, yeah, I figured with how little we had left in the race, we'd get some yellows. And even without the brand new tires, I should be able to hold everybody off.
Vinny, what an impressive run you showed out here tonight. Congratulations on this win, and now being tied as the most winningest driver this season. Enjoy this one, and before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
Yeah, shout out to Larry for racing me clean at the end. I was a little nervous, but he's a good dude, and I trusted him, and so big thanks to him. Shout out to everybody in the league. Shout out to you guys for broadcasting, and shout out to my teammates at Nightmare Fuel.
And also, Vinny, officially, this win also officially makes you the most winningest driver in the WSSR. Congratulations on taking back that crown. Enjoy this one, and good luck heading into this championship round.
Thanks, boys. I'll build on it from here.
As Vincent Sora, 51, will enjoy that win. We go down to a driver that's got to be feeling elation as well with some late drama with Ryan Kelly's wreck. He gets bounced out by 2 points to this driver, Larry Yingling. You are into the championship round. How are you feeling? Because we were trying to crunch the numbers, and somehow your number got lost there late. How are you feeling with a second place finish and knowing you got a chance to hunt for another championship?
Pretty good and sad because Ryan definitely should have made it, but he got taken out from top 5 and his title. He ran a lot better than me the whole season. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of luck. I knew I had a lot of fuel left, so I had to stay out, and that was my only play because I knew Brian Johnson. I don't know why he was falling back a lot. Maybe he was saving fuel and decided to pit. But I knew I had to stay out and just pray for a caution. Then I think someone self-spun in the back, and then I came out third. A little fresher tires. I knew Vinny and Zach were a lot faster than me the whole race, so I didn't really think I had a crazy shot to win. But it definitely helped having a little fresher tires to stay up there. and timed a couple of restarts pretty good. One time I timed it to a T, but I hesitated after hitting the throttle because I didn't want to jump it. But yeah, I can't say I just drove up there with speed.
Hey, Larry, you did a great job tonight, though. Your season was good. You're fast each week. I mean, when you get to North Wilkesboro, we expect you to be fast, and Vegas there, be fast. But when you were talked about tonight with the fuel, we up here, we were trying to figure out exactly how far people were going to go. Was there a chance, could you have gone the whole distance on fuel, or were you going to pit regardless?
At that time, I was going to pit regardless, but overall, if I say from the very beginning, I don't know if I would have made it. We were about 6 or 7 laps short from the very start of the run, so it could have been close, but others pitting and fresh tires, and they probably would have caught up to anyone that tried that strategy.
I mean, Larry, heading into this championship round, the competition I feel like is really equaled out as this season has progressed. Do you feel like I know you've got the confidence, you've won so many championships in the past in this series, but are there any drivers that you have circled up as that's my main competitor that I have to make sure I beat?
Practically all of the other 5. I know Vinny's obviously very fast. Zach, and I kind of forget who made it because I was really just focused on Ryan and Brian the whole night. But I think I don't really win much anymore. But if I'm gonna stay consistent and hopefully qualify good and get some stage points, I think I have a shot.
And we believe in you, Larry. Congratulations on this run. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
Definitely shout out my teammates. Ryan Kelly, he didn't have a lot of bad luck. He should have made it. Brian McCann, Kevin Hashbrown, and James Heater, and big shout out to you guys.
Well, thank you for giving such a great show to call. That will be your second place finisher of the night from Ying Yang Racing. It's Larry Yangling in the 67. Going to be one of our 6 drivers hunting for a championship and try to hoist the Season 9 trophy. Congratulations, Larry. Enjoy this top 3 finish and good luck at North Wilkesboro next week.
Thank you, sir.
As we move down from second place to third, we bring up the driver that was kind of putting a lot of pressure on Vinny for most of the night, but falls to third place. We have Zach Hall with us. Zach, you're one of those drivers that we kind of saw based off your runs here tonight. You're going to be into the next round if you kept your nose out of trouble, which you did. How are you feeling after a top 3 run here at Richmond?
Whew, that took some years off my life to this race. I had a lot of worries coming in here tonight. I'm gonna be straight up honest. I had a practice session last night, and I was down in the dumps after that practice session because I just couldn't figure out how to drive this thing. And did a lot of work today to kind of study up on some stuff, and I think it helped. Of course, I definitely ran a lot better than I thought I was going to. But man, that was just a stressful race because you're sitting in that position where it's like, people are going to continue to stay out and try to catch that yellow flag, but you got to come down at some point. You can't wait too long. So I came down there at 140, and I was like, okay, let's just try to get back on the lead lap now. And if the caution comes out, it comes out, and that's exactly what happened. So got back onto the lead lap right as the caution came out. So that was perfect timing. I think Ryan got caught out and got the lucky dog, so that kind of ruined his chances, of course, and put him in the back. And then from there, stayed out, and man, just really happy to move on because this round has been stressful. I really like the races coming up in the next round. So if I could I feel like if I just got myself into that final 6, that I'd have a good shot at it.
Zach, we expect you to have a good shot because we've seen you each week be fast. Tonight, Richmond, you were fast, just not the fastest, but you were right there with those guys pretty much the whole night. How much is tonight going to apply to when you go to North Wilkesboro tonight, just having this back-to-back short track?
You would think a lot. I mean, I haven't driven the laps of Wilkesboro yet. I'm kind of going based off of knowledge from 2 years ago almost at this point with this car and that track. But you would think a lot would carry over. But if it drives anything like it used to, it won't carry over too much. Those tracks just drive so differently. This one is so on the edge, and you're just every time you're coming off the corner, you don't know if this thing's going to just step out on you and just want to throw you straight into the wall. So this place is scary for me. I know Vinny, he had it hooked up. I was surprised I was even able to keep up with him for 40 laps. I was thoroughly excited just to be able to race with him there. I killed my right rear, of course, racing with him, and kind of slid a good ways back as he was just lights out up front with that clean air. So I don't know if we'll be able to take too much from tonight, but definitely excited for North Wilkesboro. I think that's, if not my best, one of my best short tracks. So we'll see how that goes.
Zach, I know you've been one of the veterans of this series. You've been here since day one of the admins. I know you're still hunting for that first championship. We've seen you be so strong this season with the amount of wins that you've performed, and you've looked strong these last few weeks. How much would a championship mean to you, though, if you were able to get it done in these next 2 weeks?
Oh, man, it would mean the world. To win in this league is, the 10 wins I just have in general of races are, all of them are in my top catalog of favorite wins, because just so tough, man, to win here. You got 16 people who came into the playoffs that any of us could have been in the final 6, and to be one of those, having a chance at least, is just really exciting. I know I was in it last season and kind of just had a terrible time in the final 6 there. I just didn't have a great run, so we're gonna shake that off. I think this has probably been my best season to date here at WSSR, especially when it comes to speed and just being there week in, week out. Didn't matter what the track. So, and that's what you got to do in this format. Of course, we all start dead even next week on points. No playoff points carrying over. It's just going to be straight up going out there trying to get the most stage points as possible in each of those races, and if you can win it, that's going to give you the most points possible. So it's all on my mind right now is just getting to North Wilkesboro now and getting the work ready, because to beat the other 5 competitors, which some of the 5 best drivers I've ever raced against. So 5 of them actually, or 4 of them are my teammates or teammates from Category 5. So that's really cool to see 5 of us be 5 of the 6 be Cat 5 guys. So that's a good shot for us. Of course, we got to beat Gavin. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But man, I can't say it enough. It would mean the world to me. If I win the championship, you'll definitely be getting a very emotional interview from me at Las Vegas.
Well, Zach, we are hoping for the best for you, and congratulations on this finish. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
First off, shout out to you guys up in the booth for everything y'all do week in and week out. Robert, Justin, Sam, you guys are awesome. Y'all really put the life into the league and give us all something to go back and watch after it's all said and done. And, all the fans and family members who are out there get to watch. So first off, shout out to you guys for all y'all done this season. It's been a great one up to this point. Hopefully we can close it out strong in these next 2. Next, shout out to my teammates at Snowy Desert Racing, Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris, Cedric Hunter. Glad me and Cedric could both get in there. Let's go get the championship, buddy. Great teammates, though. Shout out to TrophySmack.com for being an amazing sponsor of ours, and I can't wait to see who gets that Trophy Smack trophy. That thing is amazing, and I want to put it on my shelf, so hopefully we'll have some Trophy Smack hardware, so make sure you head over to TrophySmack.com and check those guys out. And then also shout out to my girlfriend Caitlin. She's always supporting me and definitely helping me through the tough times, so we'll see how it works out these next 2 weeks. Let's go win a championship.
Cannot wait for it, Zach. Congratulations on this finish. Congratulations on making it to the final 6, and good luck in these next 2 weeks hunting for that championship.
Thank you, guys.
Well, from elation, we go to disappointment as we fall down to 19th position, where we find ourselves with Ryan Kelly. Ryan, it looked like you were pretty set up. You had a great stage. It just was in those final laps, caught up in a late incident. How are you feeling after your season? I know it's come to a conclusion in the way you didn't want to, missing out on the final 6, but how are you feeling after this season that you just had?
Yeah, definitely disappointed with the way that one ended, but definitely happy for the season. Had I think a pretty good season overall. Wish I could have been a little more consistent, but definitely happy to get 3 wins, and we'll just be here to enjoy the last 2 races.
Hey, Ryan, we're glad that you'll definitely be here for next weekend, the week after, to still go and try and get some wins. I know you unfortunately won't be able to go for the championship, but not to ruin too much because you've been so fast all year. So we want to just focus on the positives. What is going to be your intention for the next 2 races? Obviously, just go out there and play spoiler, get the win, lead the most laps, and feel good.
Yeah, that'll definitely be nice to do, but definitely be courteous to the guys running for the championship. I'll definitely try and do all I can to help Larry Yingling, my teammate, who will be going for the championship, and try and just go get the win and be courteous for those guys and let them race it out too.
All right, I know the hunt for the championship is over, but the floor is now yours for shout outs and anything else you'd like to say. I know this kind of sucks because I know for us, we thought you were locked in until those final moments.
Yeah, it's definitely disappointing, but that's kind of just the way it goes sometimes, kind of like real life. So just shout out all the drivers. It was a good season, and good luck to the guys in the championship. Shout out to my teammates tonight, and you guys for putting on the show, and all the admins. They'll definitely have some tough work to do. And shout out to everybody watching, and I had some family watching tonight, so big shout out to them.
Well, that'll be the 3 machine of Ryan Kelly. Ryan, congratulations on such a fantastic season, and good luck in these final 2 races of so far.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
That will be Ryan Kelly. Again, first driver knocked out by 2 points. Larry Yingling able to find his way to be up front, with Ryan finishing in 19th position and Larry in 2nd. It was just enough points all around, but I know a lot of drivers were points racing there. And, you know, from some high moments to very low moments, it was a crazy night overall. As we take a look at our unofficial results, this race was a wild one from top to bottom, but the driver that was up front for majority of it grabbed the pole, led the most laps, and then won the race, similar to what Larry Yingling did back in season 2. It's Vincent Sora in the 51. Larry Yingling will finish in 2nd place, just enough positions up to find himself into our final 6. Zach Hall finished 3rd, Ken Campbell 4th, Tom Sinchak with a great top 5 finish for himself, Christopher Norris with one of his career days in the WSSR up to 6th, Aaron Smith the 2nd with the self spin, the issues of being kicked with contact, the 70 machine will not be running for a championship. Brian P. Johnson with an 8th place finish was just enough to get through. Cedric Hunter with his lock-in win last week. Crazy enough, if he had not gotten that win, he would have made the playoffs by 1 point over Ryan Kelly. Then we fall down to 10th position where we find Gavin Rogers, who also, if he didn't get a good points day on stage finishing, he could have been in trouble as well. But they all come together, and that's your top 10. Rest of the field, kind of disappointment all around, Justin. But the biggest one of all, obviously down in 19th place for Ryan Kelly.
Yeah, just go right down there to 19th. We talked to him. Definitely very upsetting for him, but as we said, he had a great season, so we can't take away too much for that. But just some of those other drivers around there, like John Forbes Jr., I mean, he could have, we don't know, we didn't get a chance to really see too much out of him because of that lap 3 or 4 incident. It seemed at one point he started driving up through the field, but then he got other incidents and the night kind of just went downhill. Tom Bourne, my pick, did not get the job done, and I mean, kind of lost it there in the shuffle at the end. Nick Crawford, at one point, he was on that strategy, going there and get the tires early. We saw he was in 8th for the first restart with 20 to go, but ends up in 22nd. Not how he wanted to finish his race.
Not at all. Multiple drivers falling back after getting loose, getting caught up in mistakes, backing off to get positions, and ultimately it was down to who was more aggressive than the other that found themselves in the top 10 and racing for a championship. As the drivers that made it in, Ryan Kelly the first to not make it in, but are 6 that will race for a championship for the next 2 weeks at North Wilkesboro and Las Vegas, on all going to be on 0 points. They started equal. Heading into North Wilkesboro next week, you have Vincent Sora, Zach Hall, Gavin Rogers, Brian P. Johnson, Larry Yingling, and Cedric Hunter being your 6 drivers. The 5 that we will be saying goodbye to after this week concludes Ryan Kelly, Aaron Smith II, Drew Jua, John Forbes Jr., and Joshua Kanata. Again, like we heard from Zach, I mean, everyone had a chance to make it to the final 6, but sadly, we do have to eliminate some drivers to get to that very coveted final 6 to have a chance to hoist the championship. Which, speaking of the championship, you heard Zach say it, Trophy Smack, our major trophy provider for the WSSR. If you're looking for a trophy in anything from fantasy football to iRacing, and if you just need a trophy in general, they got trophies pre-made custom, as well as belts, rings, and a wall smack, which is a metal plate that you could put on their magnet-safe wall system or on a shelf with their stand. You can go look all that up on trophysmack.com, and when purchasing, use the promo code WSSR SMAC for 10% off. Thank you so much to everyone for tonight's race. As we take a look, I gotta say, Justin, our final thoughts of the night. It was a wild one overall, but I gotta say, I could not have predicted that was the way it was going to go down. As here's our upcoming schedule for next week. We will not be covering Tuesday night for the Challenger Racing League, as we will take that night off for ourselves, but we'll be back the week after for Bristol. We have ISRC Truck Series, Challenger League, WSSR, and tomorrow night we've got the Doghouse Cup Series for coverage. But Justin, any final thoughts for tonight, because it was a wild one?
Well, the final thoughts have to be, if the caution doesn't come out, how much this race changes. But those cautions all at the end, it gave so many drivers a chance to get up there and get the points that they need. And unfortunately, we had to eliminate people. And I mean, it kind of worked out the way that some of these drivers might have thought. But then you got that twist at the end. Ryan Kelly, I mean, he had to think he was safe. I don't think at any point tonight he thought, Sam, hey, I'm not going to make it, because he had such a nice cushion, and then gets the really, really bad finish from something really that wasn't involved with his own doing.
Yeah, I mean, the innocent victim of someone overcorrecting into you has got to be frustrating. Knowing that that's how your season ends late is frustrating to watch. And for all the other drivers also that were fighting their way forward, I know Lucky Ducks were trying their best to help Aaron Smith II, Drew Jua, to get through. Joshua Kanata and also John Forbes, teammates from Cod Monsters, were working to try to get into the next round. Just not possible for themselves. What a wild evening we got to see, and it gets even crazier heading into next week as we start the last round of the playoffs. Our final six get to chase who will have the championship. Whoever has got the most points after North Wilkesboro and Las Vegas take the Season 9 crown. But for us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, I want to say thank you to everyone that joined with us this evening. I know tonight was a special night for those that always want to remember and have thoughts and prayers to those that were ever affected by September 11th back in 2001. And also those that want to support a great cause with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation that helped the first responders. Remember, if you'd like to go help out Tunnels to Towers, head to T2T.org or text T2T to 91999 to go donate and help out such a great cause. Thank you so much, everyone who joined with us. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Justin Malarkey, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else that helps out here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It was a pleasure to give you the coverage of the WSSR Cup Series on Wednesday night. We will have more great racing action next week for the start of the championship round. But if you thought tonight was crazy and rocky, well, we've got the rock coverage of the Next Gen Open Setup League of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series heading to Rockingham tomorrow night. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a plastic haul just like it was tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.